What are our talking points? Are we just gonna roll off the bat?
I was gonna ask you guys that.
Yeah.
I'm cool
Well,
with whatever.
last time we had them in mind. Well, I just heard myself echoing. We've gone live, haven't we? I can't hear you, Trip Keeper. You've gone.
Yeah, he is gone.
Yeah. And the live started as well.
Well, I know I'm good to talk about drugs for sure. So.
I'm sure people want to hear that as well.
Yeah.
Well, last time we had the topic in mind of like British versus American culture, and then we didn't even end up talking about that. We just talked about everything, just everything just rolled off our tongues.
That's how it goes. Go with the flow, right?
I know, yeah. I can see him on the live messing about with his microphone, trying to get it working again.
Hey, we'll get it there. We're almost there.
Yeah. Again, it wouldn't be an episode of this podcast if we didn't struggle at first.
Work in progress things.
Mm. Don't worry.
Oops, sit tight.
Well, we may as well. Oh, I had him for a sec there.
Testing, am I on?
Oh, there we go.
We're on.
Hello.
Okay, all right.
We're back.
Go.
Yeah, I don't know why it was the same setting. I don't know why I turned on. Must have just glitched out or
Because
something.
because it's Discord and it hates us.
Exactly. It does not want us to do this. It's like you need to pay for this special service that we're giving you.
That's probably the
Yep, they're
probably
happening.
the plot twist.
Okay, so wait, so none of you guys heard the intro?
No.
Oh. It wasn't
I was
much of an
confused. It was
intro.
just like pure silence.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't really say that much, but I was. So we are back with episode 3. Finally, 4 minutes later, we have a special guest here, someone that's known as the original Trip Report trio, basically. So yeah, how you doing?
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm doing good, bro. I'm glad to be here.
Woo! Let's go. This is gonna be a good episode. We got. I mean, honestly, it's early, but 24. I'm not even surprised 24 people are watching. Usually, because 12 is like a prime time, but like for 9 in the morning, that's pretty good. Honestly, I'll take it. I'm a little
Good time
low
for
on
Yeah,
it.
Sunday too.
Yeah. Good time for the UK listeners as well. This is
Yeah.
like prime time. They're probably all sat in the gardens, sunbathing, listening to this.
Smoking some salvia in a different world.
This, funny enough, this lad came up to me last night when I went out, and he was talking to me about psychedelics. He's never taken them at all, but he's like, "Oh yeah, I really want to try that salvia," you know. And I was like, "Do you really?" Oh, bless
Yeah,
him.
no, that's imagine that being your first trip into the psychedelic world. That would just be like you would never want to take them again. Well,
Actually, that's interesting because I don't know if I mentioned it because I mean, like we say, the first sort of mind-altering thing you have, other than alcohol, which does alter your mind in a like depressing way, but like cannabis was the first sort of psychoactive substance I tried, but then the first real hallucinogenic I tried was salvia, funnily enough, and thankfully it didn't scare me off it, but it was definitely very scary.
how was that trip like?
It was very mild, because obviously there's a massive range, isn't there, with any psychoactive, but with salvia, oh bloody hell, the rabbit hole goes really deep. But basically, I just had like I didn't have any like the zipper effects or anything. It sort of felt like everything became two-dimensional, like my perception was two-dimensional, like I was playing like Sims when it's like from the top down, like bird's eye view, felt like that, and I felt I was like couch locked. And I just kept laughing to myself loads. And then after a bit, I remember blacking out, and I woke up in my mate's wardrobe.
That's funny.
I know, and I had a
Jeez.
I had a fork in my hand as well, and they opened. I'm like, "What are you
Uh-oh.
doing in here?" And I was like, "I don't know."
I don't know. You should know that question. You should know that answer,
It-
not me.
yeah, the fact that they
Yeah,
didn't know
right.
confused me even more.
That's funny. Have you ever done
So that,
salvia? Someone that's one?
Y- Yeah, just one time when I was at college, actually, it was one of my friends who was just wanting to try it because we didn't have shit else for tripping at the time. So, basically, I tripped the fuck out on it and almost felt like my whole reality was pulled from under my feet in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like gravity, like was way off. I remember when we first did it. Like I almost felt like my feet were locked in place, but then like my top half of my body was like being pulled downwards in these weird directions. It's hard to describe.
Damn.
But then like I almost broke through. I felt like what happened, like I said, like reality was ripped from me, almost like my vision was ripped from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I like traveled back to the past to when I was like in kindergarten, first grade, something like this. And me and my friend were just on a bus, and like it was almost like in this claymation, just hallucination, and everything about it just felt like so fucked up and wrong. Like this shouldn't be happening. Like we shouldn't be experiencing this, and just like, and it literally just lasted like 10, 15 seconds. But I just felt like, man, dude, like this shit's fine. Like I just cannot, man. Like
It felt longer though.
it,
Like it felt like longer
no,
than.
it didn't feel longer like that.
Oh,
Like physically, I guess, but like the context of the trip felt like immense, I guess, in itself.
yeah,
And just it
freak.
had me thinking like, what it was that? What is the meaning of this? Why am I even here like that?
Mm,
For like the next week or two, because that's really the effect of salvia. I feel like it's the after effect of processing all of that, especially if you have a messed up trip like that.
yeah. For
yeah, it's
that short.
interesting.
Yeah. Oh, go on.
Interesting you said that you were transported back to kindergarten because I remember when I worked my last job when I just worked as a labourer, the site foreman, he we obviously you just get into these conversations. So many people have actually tried these substances that you wouldn't think. You just think, oh, this person just he has a few drinks on a weekend, and then you ask him about the past, and he was telling me, oh, have you ever tried salvia? And I was like, yeah, just the once and probably never again. And he had like he had an experience like how we report on it, the trip reports that we feature. He
Yeah.
was like transported back to say, yeah, he was transported back to primary school and he met his dead grandmother and she was giving
Hmm.
all this like giving all the classic sort of feel that these entities give like, oh, it's all going to be all right, there's all the purposes, a grand plan and everything. And it was it was basically the moment where he realized, okay, maybe reality is a lot weirder than I thought, because he did it when he was a teenager. And when you're a teenager, you think, oh, I've got it all figured out, right? It's this,
Yep.
it's that, it's this. And then he takes salve and you're like, oh, I've been more wrong.
I don't have anything figured out.
Yeah, yeah. It's humbling though, isn't it, to know
Yeah.
that you don't know.
Um, yeah, my friend sent me this reel from the Joe Rogan podcast. Now he always talks about, psychedelic stuff and drug experiences. He said, well, one guy that was on the podcast said that his friend smoked it and he ended up living his own like a whole different reality with like a wife and kids and everything, and like he just didn't know where he
Mm-hmm.
was, and like he felt like he lived there for years and years, and that's kind of what scares me about it. Like it seems like something I would want to try just to the curiosity of it, but like I don't want something like that to happen. That's the same with the DMT. I know that can feel very long, and like just the thought of being trapped in there, even though that's not going to happen, but it will feel like it's still like basically the same. It's just you're not actually going to do, like, you're not going to, but yeah, it's just that's the scary part about it. So I don't know if I'll ever do that. The DMT is still sitting in my room, so I don't know that'll definitely
Hey,
happen soon. But I just try
Yeah,
to prepare myself for it.
yeah. It's just it's twiddling its thumbs, waiting for you to get a hold of it.
It's like, come here, baby.
Also, someone in the chat mentioned your volume's a bit low, Tripkeeper. You might want to just amp it up if you can, just slightly.
Does it sound low when I'm talking for you
Not
guys?
massively, not massively low, but it's maybe some of
so
that
for
raw
me,
cheese
it
has.
sounds alright on Discord.
Yeah, on the stream. It's just a bit lower, but maybe some of our audience has hearing issues. I mean, I do as
I
well.
mean,
So.
I work at the post office in those loud ass trucks. Like my hearing is definitely gonna go.
Yeah, I am. I went to. Oh, go on.
No, everything, all the volume's up, so I don't. Yeah, we just have to deal with it.
We're sorry. Talking about hearing issues, I went to a like a rave a few months ago, and it was so before it came on, they were testing the equipment out, the rigs, and obviously they had no incentive to lower it for people's eardrums, and obviously they're like bass freaks, so they turned it all the way up, and I'm not joking. I think I genuinely have tinnitus in my left ear now. I can actually just hear it right now, and I'm like, oh, that's it's so subtle that it's not an issue, but it's just weird that it's just, and when everything goes out, it's just sort of there, isn't it? And there's no cure for it, really, is there? You just got to like deal with it. And
anything with your ears, yeah.
Maybe it'll go away one day. Probably not.
It's kind of scary to think about.
I gotta get a surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like it. Every time you go to a concert, if you really want to protect your ears, you just gotta at least bring those earplugs just in case, unless it's just not. Because I know Motorhead back in the day when I read comments when I was listening to a lot of their music, like they said Lemmy was just like the loudest musician ever, like with his when he's singing the bass. I think he played bass, and just the whole band was just super loud, and people got tinnitus from that. So yeah, it all depends on the artist, really. And there's actually a funny video of him doing a check, and he's like has that full volume, and everyone's like closing their ears. He's like a little bit louder, hey. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's fair enough, because again, when you're young, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, you just want to live life to the extreme. But there's always going to be a bit of a boomerang type thing going on. It's going to come back round eventually later in life, and you almost start to suffer through the actions of like your younger self. If you eat, when you're younger, you can just eat like donuts and loads of crap endlessly, and you can sort of handle it, and then by the time like 50, 60, it sort of starts to creep back up, doesn't it? And that's the same with anything. Like if you abuse drugs loads as a young person, I reckon most people are gonna get older and experience a lot of issues related to that, especially heart issues.
Dopamine.
Yes, yeah, dopamine. You're gonna have a dopamine deficiency, aren't you? And yeah,
everyone's a little pissed off by that age anyway. So you got to think like, am I gonna be suffering anyway? Might as well just fucking enjoy myself as a young person.
Oh yeah. I completely get it, and I do it as well. So I can't judge at all. It's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just about having the balance of, because you don't want it to hit too hard, like too early.
Right. Yeah. If it shows up too early, like that'd be like in your 30s or 40s, even like that. You still want to enjoy those years, but like what I think the senior citizen age in America, I don't know how it is if it's around the world too, but it's like 55 now. I think it just keeps going down.
Whoa,
it's 55 now?
Well.
No way, really?
Yeah, that's at least that's from what I
That's
heard.
nuts.
And my mom started getting AARP magazines and shit like that. She got so angry about that. She's like she gets pissed off when she gets called ma'am and stuff like that, but she's already like 58 now, so she just it's creeping up there. It's creeping up there, but yeah, because she had me at like 33. Here. So
over here it's 60 to 65 years old, so yeah,
that's about where it should be.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, like 65 or something.
I could be wrong, but that's what I remembered.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I mean, you got a much bigger population, haven't you? So there's more variables, isn't there? Play.
And America's trying to kill us with all the food that they're serving us. So it's we at an earlier age, we don't have organic like fast food to get, like not organic, but like just healthier. So it's over here. I don't know. There's so many ingredients and things that don't need to have those ingredients, like so many preservatives and stuff. That's why I would love to live in Europe or Japan or something, because they're just very all about quality and not quantity, and that's what I like. But yeah, I just don't eat fast food as much anymore. You gotta really limit yourself. The doctors say that you should like never get it, like ever, not even once. It's like, and people get it every day almost.
Yeah, some of my some of my friends, and well, not even friends, but just people I know. I've never actually seen them eat a proper meal, and they will just order takeout, or even. I mean, obviously it's not as bad over here. I guess the quality of ingredients still bad, but then
Hmm.
there's also stuff like instant meals that you just put in a microwave,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah,
think of all the stuff that
it's a
like, you got.
convenience trap.
Yes, that's it. You got to pay the price for eating like that
Ramen
because you're not
noodles.
getting it. Yeah,
Yeah,
That's so bad for
uh,
you.
yeah.
the sodium
There's a
killing
bit of
yourself.
a bit of a
Man.
myth about obviously there's like ramen noodles, just like just loads of noodles in broth. Then you got like the proper Japanese ramen. But even so, the proper Japanese ramen is you can have a lot of like healthy elements to it, but there's a lot of salt in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
A lot
Any
of salt.
Yep, yep.
any Japanese, Chinese food is like all there's a lot of sodium in it, but at least it's like high quality. Like you gotta worry about
Yeah.
the sodium, but like at least you're not getting those other ingredients for it. And it's just like I'm so jealous that I can't live over there. It just seems so amazing.
Oh yeah. Again, like I say, going in September, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, you're going in September? That's nice.
Yeah, going to September for 3 weeks. I've always wanted to go anyway. I've always been a bit obsessed, and oh, it's another really bizarre thing. Honestly, the amount of weird stuff I've shared on this already, people are gonna think I'm crazy if they didn't think already. But my first breakthrough LSD experience, I had what I could describe as like an element of clairvoyance of like projecting myself into the future. You get this a lot in trips, don't you? Where people say, "Oh, I had a vision of where I was going," or my path became clear to me. And in the moment, I was confused. I had no idea, but I envisioned myself sat on top of Mount Fuji, and I literally could see it from the distance. And I was coming towards it, and as I went towards it, I shifted and I wasn't looking at it. I was on top of it, and I was like looking over this psychedelic scenery, a bit like Big Les or something when they sat on a hill, and it all becomes trippy. And I thought in that moment, I was like, oh, this is a vision of what I'm supposed to do in the future. And now, in the next few months, that's going to become an actual reality. And in that moment of me sitting on Mount Fuji, it's like, whoa, that's everything come full circle, which is just really, it's just super trippy.
Wow. Yeah, but
I know,
Mount
it's massive.
Mount Fuji looks like really beautiful. I'm very jealous about that. That
Are you
is
gonna go there then?
Yeah, oh, 100%. Yeah, I know that not only do I want to go there, I sort of, to respect that first trip, I've got to go there.
I see.
It's mad. I love mountains anyway. Again, love hiking. I was up in the Lake District yesterday. I already buzz off going up these. I mean, Mount Fuji's on another level too. Little hills around here, but yeah, I'll definitely give it a fair go.
How high is it?
Um, that's a very good question. I know it's a
I could
big
look it
ass
up right
mountain.
now. It's
It's volcano, isn't it? Yeah.
I think
It's
so.
something I've wanted to get into, mountain climbing.
Mm.
Oh, it's a super volcano.
No,
I did
it's
not
not
know
a
that.
volcano.
It's 3,776 meters and 12,388 feet. So
That's a fair
The
few meters.
journey.
yeah,
That,
that's
that's interesting because
crazy.
the biggest highest elevation in England is Scafell Pike, and that's only 978 meters, and that takes a fair few hours to get up. So probably have to stop overnight at Mount Fuji. They have them little villages on the way up, don't they? That you can stay in and everything. It's
So
bizarre.
cool.
That's crazy.
I
When
know, yeah. I watched this video with it.
when you do go, try to go. There's an amusement park out there that I've always wanted to go to. It's called Fuji Q Highland, and they got like some amazing roller coasters. Since my last mushroom trip, where we watched the roller coaster POVs, I've been like watching more and more, just getting into it, and like yeah, they got some
Mm.
good rides there. So if you can make it there in your 3 weeks, I would recommend it because there's some good ass roller coasters and shit. If you're into that stuff, I don't know if you like them or not,
Oh
but
yeah, I
yeah.
love it. I mean, I love amusement parks. They're very scattered around in England. Like, not so easy to get to. I think the most famous to is Thorpe Park and
I heard of
Alton
that one.
Towers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thorpe Park's really famous. That's near London. Alton Towers I've been to twice. This is many, many years ago. But then just about an hour, 40 minutes away from me, there's a famous amusement park, Blackpool Pleasure Beach. That's pretty good. It's very much on the light side, and all the really big rides, everyone's like, "Oh my god, how does it get any bigger than this?" And it's like small fry stuff compared to them really mad ones you see. So even in the States, when they go really really high, and it's just like a plummet.
Oh yeah,
They look
my
mad.
Cedar Point that's close to me, dude. They break every single record. They have the first 200, three
Yeah,
hundred foot, 400 foot roller coaster. Like they just keep breaking records.
Yeah,
It's,
that's
it's it,
great.
I definitely took it for granted growing up being so close to it because everyone talks about it. It's like you don't even realize how good you have it until you see all these people going and shit. But
mm.
yeah, it's definitely fun. I love experiences like that and water parks too.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah. I
love
love a walk.
I love water parks, but
I'm trying to go off the tab, to be honest.
Mm.
See what that's like.
yeah.
What's interesting about say amusement parks is it's a good way of sort of facing your fears in a very safe. Obviously, that sometimes it goes wrong.
Oh yeah.
And if anything go wrong, get on a plane, it can crash. And you get your car and you can crash it. There's going to be risk involved in
hmm
anything. But yeah, it's interesting the psychology of getting on a.
Yeah, it was definitely
um,
scary for my first time. I was like, oh my God, oh my God.
yeah.
But then once I got out, I was just like, whew, that was awesome.
More.
Yeah, give me
Yeah, it's
more.
technically safer
Yeah.
than a car ride, right?
Mm.
A car ride? What'd you say?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's technically safer than a car ride.
Oh, yeah, of
Yeah.
Um,
course.
There's so much more structure in place, isn't there? If you get in a car, you're controlling the car, aren't you? And there's other people driving about who, like, I don't know, they might be fucking intoxicated. Like, I've
no,
driven.
that's what I worry about. Just like some random idiot's gonna hit me from behind or whatever.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, I've had that before. Just where I live, it's pretty quiet. Obviously, a lot of people do. I mean, this happens everywhere. People come back from town, the place where they got drinking, and there's always going to be someone. In fact, probably many people who just get in the car and think, "Yeah, I'm completely fine to drive back." And then before you know it, I'll be driving back home, actually having not done anything, because I can just go out and drive and just talk to people. And then on my way home, just see like a car wreckage on the way there, and I'm like, "Whoa,
You
that could have easily been me that they went into, or they could have gone into like a again
Yeah,
group of
that's
people."
exactly what I think about. Just man, that if I was there a couple seconds earlier, a couple seconds later, like that could have definitely been me. Yeah, but the fact I think I've never been on a plane yet, but with cars,
Mm.
I think just being in control yourself, like even though there's other people that can definitely crash into you, like I just like the feeling of me driving because I just know what I can do, what I would like that
Yeah.
I could be safe, but yeah, just like not like worrying about people hitting you or being intoxicated like you said. And I know
Mm.
planes are the safest way to travel, but it's just I don't know. I'm not terrified to go on them, but I'm like since I never been on one, I don't know how it's gonna go.
yeah,
But
you just
yeah,
got to get over your fear, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Just like with the roller
Same.
coaster.
right.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. I've been trying to do that a lot more recently. Just like, right, okay, a lot of this fear is imaginary, isn't it? You always try to rationalize it. No, but this thing could happen. This
hmm
thing could very much happen. There's a probability. And I've just been trying to do it even in like very very small areas. So it's now like spider season in the UK, and we get these big
Ooh.
house spiders.
Mm.
They're completely harmless, but they look creepy. They look like something out of like yeah, get a Datura trip, and they look menacing. And then obviously most people you will either kill it or try and put it in a glass, put like a bit of tissue underneath it. And I'm like, right, what is stopping me from just picking it up? And I was just had to like be honest with myself like, that it's fear, and the fear is coming from nose like right, they can't bite me. All it'll do will feel weird in my hand, and then once I do that, I get over it. So I pick the spider up, and I was like, oh, it feels really weird. And then after a bit, I'm just like, it just goes. And now when I see a spider, I just pick it up and I just put it out the front door, and I'm like, that's literally textbook facing your fears, isn't it? Just doing it and,
hmm
and jump the deep end. Especially when spiders, like house spider in the UK, not venomous. Not gonna go do that in Australia and pick up like a black widow or anything.
Oh yeah, that's a different ball game right there.
Yeah.
Our spiders are very small usually. There's brown
Mhm.
recluses which can be dangerous, but I never come across one yet. But I'm not afraid of like spiders or anything. I usually take them
No.
outside. But yeah, the other day when I took my .75 of penis envy when I was like coming down, uh, Ozzy came in my room and started going up the wall and meowing. I'm like, oh god, what does he see? I turn on my flashlight and there's that huge house centipede, and those things freak me out because they're so fast and like how many legs they got. So I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I picked up Ozzy to go get him, and then he touched him, and then he fell. And because Ozzy loves to like eat bugs, well, not eat them, but like kill them, and it fell, and I don't know where it went. I was like, well, it could be on my bed right now, it could be on the ground. I don't know. I'm just not gonna think about it. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, they're freaky. Yeah, I've not got over my fear of giant centipedes yet. That'll take some doing. I went to Croatia last year, and the centipedes, some of the animals over there were crazy, especially coming from the UK. There's not a lot of danger. The most dangerous animal maybe is like a field of cows that are like running towards you, and they don't even want to hurt you. They're just like mindlessly running. What's the most dangerous animal where you two live? You got it?
You want to go? I'm
Yeah.
gonna address you by someone because if I say someone that's no one, that's gonna take it just because we got like
Oh, you're
one.
good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's someone, or should I say no one? Someone or no one? What should I say? What do you prefer?
Honestly, bro, you call your preference.
I think
Okay.
no one's got a
You
better ring to it.
decide.
I
No
think.
one. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, no one. You go first.
Man, I'm not even sure. It might be the spider or the mosquito, low key. But if
Mm.
we're talking like a big animal, it's probably what I want to say maybe a deer, an aggressive deer
Ooh,
around here. So
that's
there's
And
actually
sometimes just deer running around.
right. They could be very unpredictable sometimes. Like deer, actually, I think they're one of the leading causes of death in America because it's not because they're like dangerous. It's just they fucking run across the road on the freeway. Like people get into terrible accidents. So that could be probably the number one, honestly, for me too, because it's just it's scary that they can like literally cause a car crash just running across
yeah,
really fast and just
they will
yeah
obliterate any vehicle, won't they?
yeah
Especially the speed
Yeah,
you're going
they'll
at,
get
how heavy they are.
stuck
yeah.
in the headlights.
Right, right. And at nighttime too, like you just got to be very careful. Yeah. Um,
Other than that, predator wise, maybe there could be a pack of coyotes. I was walking one time and seeing like 4 or 5 coyotes in a field, and just like, all right, fuck, I ain't going over close over there. Fuck that.
yeah, I had when I was delivering mail one day, this coyote just walked past me out of nowhere. Like I thought it was a dog. I was actually more afraid that it would be a dog because coyotes
Wow.
they're not like they don't tend to attack humans or anything, but they will attack
Right,
dogs and cats. So that's why when I lived in my old apartment where the coyotes were, I heard them in the middle of the night all the time, and them just laughing or doing whatever sound they were doing. And it was freaky for sure. But you just
Yeah.
gotta, because I hear stories of people losing their cats and dogs, just having them go outside. That's why you gotta. If you live near the
right.
woods, you got to be careful. But they can also come wherever. But yeah, coyotes can be terrifying too. But yeah, the mosquitoes, those are definitely like you said, they're low key dangerous. Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
And they're very annoying. And I don't know if you have
yeah. I
midget.
don't know statistics wise, but I know they're probably up there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that.
sometimes the smallest thing is the most deadly, isn't it? Like we've got ticks over here, them little tiny
Ooh,
little insects,
Yeah,
and they're
same.
they're they're rife around where I live. So you got to check your legs for ticks or your whole body when you go out in the forest. And if what like, obviously they have the potential to give you Lyme's disease, can't they? Which is a serious condition just from
right.
that little tiny little bastard.
Yeah.
Well, I randomly got a tick in like 3rd grade when I was just at school, like out of nowhere under my armpit. I was pissed off,
Oh
and like
God.
Yeah,
the
I
idea
mean,
to pry it off, it took like 2, 3 hours or something.
Wow. That's at school. That's interesting. That I've heard of that. Uh, but yeah,
And once it's it like finds up because it has sucked up so much blood. So that's why it takes like 2, 3 hours or whatever to get off.
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, that's yeah. Just being that small. I mean, ooh, it's freaky. You're more scary than like run into a cow, like you said.
Yeah,
The
yeah, I've
cows
got
are
a few.
massive, but they're not gonna attack you unless it's a bull cow.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
they might,
yeah.
but
Oh, low key, there's a giant bison I came across like 2 months ago when I was tripping on mushrooms. They have this
Mm.
bison preserve close by me,
oh
and
really?
like we just randomly walked up by it, and it was only this like chain link fence, like, and we're talking like a 2,000 pound, 3,000 pound bison. So like,
Jeez,
it could really wanted, it could have charged it, us, tore down that fence, and tore us up.
Mm.
that's crazy.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
have anything like that here.
Yeah, bison are huge, dude. And they're all over Yellowstone too. If you really want, and the worst part of America for animals is probably Florida, and just Florida in general for anything with how
True.
humid it is. But they got a lot of venomous stuff. There's this
Yeah.
guy on
The gators.
Instagram. Yeah, the gators, the fucking snakes. This guy on Instagram named Fishing Garrett. He likes to go in the Everglades and like find animals. He's the guy who like picks them up and says yoink. You know, he's pretty
Oh
funny.
yeah.
But yeah, he goes looking. He tries to find anacondas and stuff. And I don't know if the anacondas are in Florida, but he definitely sees the gators and frogs. And yeah, so if you run into a gator, that would honestly be more terrifying than any other thing that I could come across in Ohio for sure. There's really not too much except like the deer and the brown recluse spiders, but you rarely come across that.
Yeah.
And I think there's cottonmouths. Oh, there's bears too. You can occasionally run into a bear. I've never done it, but they have actually come around.
The next level.
Yeah, dude. Grizzly bear. It's mostly black bears, which black bears I wouldn't be like as afraid to come across, but a grizzly, oh my god, that sounds just completely horrifying.
Because it's like in the
Oh,
moment,
they're
what do you do? 'Cause
massive.
there's so many different ways that they advise you to do it. A lot of the ones here, because obviously I was having it in mind, it's like, okay, going to Japan, it's not like living in the UK. There's not, you're not going to just find foxes and badgers and cows. It's going to be like super creatures over there. And obviously they have the bears, don't they? Obviously, bear attacks are very, very, very uncommon. And but they say obviously you have the spray, don't you? Or you get to do the bells. There's like these bells on these mountain path walks, and you keep ringing them at certain intervals to keep them away. But if one does actually come up to you, I think what they did say is basically don't run away, because then it's just going to come running for you. Just
Right.
literally get on the floor and just get in the fetal position and just pretend your best to be dead, and
Yep.
they will probably just walk past you. And if they do come up to you, they might just like roll you around. Which, if in that moment, I don't know if I could hold myself.
Hell no.
It's so fucking hard. In theory, like, yes, I'll be able to do it. There's no way, but like the fear would be debilitating, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that sounds terrifying because you don't even
I'd
know,
rather-
even if you play dead, like it might still attack you. You know, you just
I think I'd
Exactly.
rather
You're
have a
just taking
nightmare
the
story
chance.
trip.
right. Hopefully, you don't come across Cocaine Bear. At
He's
that,
out there
at that
somewhere.
point, I'd rather watch the movie than see.
Yeah.
The movie was
Yeah.
terrible.
That's painful enough as it is, yeah.
Oh my god, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
This could be a good talk about. What's your favorite film about drugs, substances, or anything like that? Psychedelics. You have one?
Let's see.
Hmm.
I've never
there's
seen
a lot,
Into
but-
the Void. That sounds like a great movie.
That's
to
on my
watch.
list too.
Yeah, I
That's
need
the
to
one
see
that everyone points towards, isn't it? I think it's a bit of a love it or hate it film. It's very, very slow and not like it's not structured very conventionally, because after a certain point in the film, it's not really like a structured film. It's very much really out there, and it makes sense in the narrative or like the themes of the film. But yeah, it's one of them. If you don't like it, you'll hate it. But if you do like it, you'll be like, "Whoa, that's pretty trippy."
Yeah,
That's probably the biggest one, isn't it? I'd say.
Yeah,
right
I'd
now.
probably enjoy that movie with what I like. I think the same guy that Gasper Noé, the guy who made that, he made Climax, and that's actually, I was just thinking that's probably my favorite. Like that. Oh my god,
love
dude! Me and my friend got so anxious watching it. I felt like I was on an acid trip for that. If you haven't seen that, someone
Yeah.
go, or no one, whatever, someone that's knowing, you know, go watch it. It's very, very good. It starts off slow though. Like there's a bunch of weird like talking interviews, and they're just talking back and forth. But once the acid trip kicks in, it is insane the rest of the way.
Okay.
Well,
I'll have to take a look into it.
Yeah, we'll send you a list on the old Snapchat group. My favorite, I think, yeah, someone's just posted here. One of my favorites. I mean, probably the ones that come to mind for me: Climax, Requiem for a Dream,
Oh
Train
god,
Spotting.
Oh yeah, Requiem.
Requiem's
was
like
That's a big
scary.
one.
so yeah, it messes you. It's probably like the scariest non-horror film, non-spooky entities and weird stuff
Yeah.
horror film. Just like the brutal nature of drug addiction, sort of stuff. Awesome soundtrack as well.
Yeah, that movie freaked me the fuck out when I'm watching it. Even before I started doing drugs, it's just like that one scene where Jared Leto's injecting the fucking needle inside that hole that was already like his arm was purple. Like, oh god, that was tough. And then the Helen is it Helen Bernstein or Ellen Bernstein when the one who got addicted to
his
diet
mum.
pills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She has
that.
the most trippy side story of all of them, doesn't she? Because she starts hallucinating, and I thought that was really freaky because I
Mm-hmm.
could relate to the. I've had a lot of experiences of being on psychedelics and sort of losing touch with normal mundane reality where like I will be watching TV and then in that moment they do sort of like address me and like everyone's looking at me and then 1 minute they're not and then it's like they're talking in like this really weird subtle way that you interpret as like, oh, they're talking directly to me, not an audience, talking
Mm-hmm.
literally to me, and I'm the only person here right now.
Is of what's actually going on.
Oh yes, that's a great way to put it. That's how it feels as well. And yet, by taking a psychedelic or any like consciousness altering device, you can, yeah, it allows it to seep through the cracks, doesn't it? Oh, it's mad.
Right, because especially when you start altering time in sense and
Mm,
start going backwards and forwards in ways in the moment and like
mm,
start creating your own almost like interpretation of what reality could be and just how we see things. It's like we're connecting it with a higher dimension.
100%. That's how I see it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy what psychedelics can do to you. Oh man.
As we know full well from own experiences and all the mad experiences we've shared now.
Yeah, this
with
past
the
week I've done way more psychedelics than I've done in like years. Like I used to do acid a lot, but I'm never gonna do acid again. I do not. I think it's not safe for me
mm,
now since it affected me when I was a teenager. But
mm,
I feel good doing shrooms and stuff. Since I mean it does, even though something if it's natural, it doesn't automatically mean it's safe. But yeah, shrooms I feel the most safe taking. I was doing like little. I tried to do a microdose this week a couple times, but I ended up doing like a little trip on accident when I took it at work. I did like 0.15, 0.16, which actually I saw some little visuals, but it was actually very fun to do that. But you're supposed to do it because I had the penis envy ones, so you're supposed to do like 0.05, maybe zero point 0.1 at the most for a microdose. But yeah, so I have to try that and see what happens. But yeah, I love the way shrooms make me feel. I just when I did the trip the other night, 0.75 of penis envy. That felt like a 1.5 gram of the Gandalf the Green, the shroom trip from last week that I was talking about. That was insane. And then the crazy part about the trip the other night was I saw like into the Spider Verse type of animation and like cartoons. Like that's what my world looked like. It was really really cool, and my phone was coming out at me. The letters, everything was just wavy, and everything was just like it felt like it was breathing, and there was like fog and smoke in the air, like a steam almost. But and I was actually editing my last video on it. I edited the audio, which I can't believe I finished. I was like, oh my god, I actually fucking did that. It took a while, but I did it. I was like, I gave myself a pat on the back because I didn't think I was gonna be able to finish it. But yeah,
yeah.
it was definitely an interesting experience. That's the first time I ever tripped while editing or doing anything for my channel. So that was
Mm,
definitely, I can cross that off my bucket list.
yeah.
I try to avoid it. I've done it a few times now on LSD.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just get
editing.
so perfectionist and just so like
Yep.
I have to run it back and like did I hear this right? Am I hearing it differently? And at the same
Yeah.
time, it's just this drive that pulls you through with the trip. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's.
I've never made a video on psychedelics, but in terms of just doing something, yeah, sort of creative, I remember I've I've done some DJing on 2CB before.
Ooh.
That was ideal, you know. It was I thought going into that, right, I'm on 2CB, I just go into hyper analysis mode, or be too lost or whatever. And then actually, it was so bizarre that it felt it just put me in a flow state immediately, like instantly. There was no thoughts. There was not. I didn't even think about how to do it. It was like, you know how driving a car becomes second nature, and you don't think about what gear to put it
Yeah.
in. You just do it, and I'd never DJ'd like that before, and it was genuinely like my body was on autopilot, and there was no sort of monkey mind chat to be, oh, you should do this. Oh, yeah, I might have to do that
You
again.
think it has to do with like rhythm and just sound?
Yes, I think because the 2CB is again amplifies your sort of your mind and your relationship, like your interaction with reality. If you let it go, obviously you could resist it and put a bit of your ego into like, no, 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 this is just a trip or whatever. But there was no space for that, and like say the rhythm, the fact that there was beautiful music, I was controlling it. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like the perfect storm, and it allowed me to get into that free flowing sort of behavior. But I wouldn't recommend. It's like obviously do that when you're mixing on the decks, but don't be doing that driving because I don't think driving on two would be a very good idea. Even though I mean, definitely don't drive intoxicated at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main problem with driving intoxicated is not so much the headspace. You might be in a great headspace or whatever, but you don't know what the visually is very different, isn't it? Like if
Yeah.
you're driving around and you've got loads of visuals flying out at you, that is just it's probably even worse than driving on alcohol for the
You
most
think?
part. Although I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's relative, isn't it? But you should
I
definitely
don't
not be
know. Yeah, it
driving on
does.
alcohol either.
I think with 2CB, I feel like that's the one I probably, if I ever had to, if like there's an emergency, I probably could. Like with shrooms, I definitely could not. There's no way I could drive on shrooms. But 2CB, because I just did it last night, and I think next time I do it, I have to wait a while because I didn't get as strong effects as I did on 23 milligrams. I did 30 milligrams last night, and I don't know if it was because I was tired too. Like I actually took a nap before. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I fell asleep after I took it, but then I woke up and I was awake until like 12. I was watching actually the Scooby Doo movies last night, the Zombie
Nice.
Island and Witch's Ghost. Dude, that shit was fucking awesome watching that on there
I
for the
bet.
nostalgia factor. But yeah, as 2CB, I find very, very subtle and light, and it makes me happy, and that's why I love that. I love that psychedelic. It's probably my favorite now, but yeah, like I said, I probably have to wait a while before I do it again, I think, and then I gotta be more awake for it because I don't know if
Mm,
that tiredness had anything to do with it, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I take back my previous statement. It's definitely better driving on 2CB than alcohol, but don't be doing either of them
Yeah,
anyway.
don't. I don't
Because,
we don't recommend doing any of that. We do not condone this
uh,
anything.
yeah,
Yep. No intoxicated driving.
no, it's not even worth it. It's just like this is a problem. So many people, especially I guess, when you've driven for years and years and years and years, there does get a bit of a your ego, your pride can get in the way of it. Like, well, whatever, I can drive on any
Hmm.
sort of stuff. I'll be completely fine if I take this acid and drive, and then
Hmm.
before you end up in a lake or something.
All right.
I will say, coming down from shrooms, that was a fun drive because I wasn't getting the lanes weren't wiggling or waving. It was pretty normal. Just everything was more poppy and vibrant. So it felt pretty good to drive like that. But I still don't recommend that. But
No,
at least wait until you've come down before you leave. Just stay wherever you are for
yeah,
until like you don't until you see like that the visuals are pretty much completely gone. Like, but
yeah.
mostly just do it at home, or if you're gonna sleep over at someone's house, do it then. But yeah, do not take it if you're
Mm.
gonna drive.
I do get that though because I remember last year I took mushrooms and I'd just driven to this party to do a DJ set and I just literally just waited. I was tripping. I was like, right, I can't drive home now. This is completely irresponsible. I would have never done it anyway, but I just knew this is not a
Hmm.
good idea. So I waited and waited and waited. Even just coming down when I was like, right, I've still got slight visuals, and in my head, I guess I could rationalize driving now, but I still didn't. I just waited till like I was literally, I'd come down completely, but you've got that mushroom afterglow of just that clarity of mind, and then I think I drove better than I ever have done in my whole life. Just again, just not even thinking about it, just being on pure autopilot mode because I guess with psychedelics they really do chip away at that. Especially for me, just that monkey chatter in the back of your head, like, oh, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. When you just got to just
It's a
let go.
state of mind, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just not being too fearful of it in the moment and just respecting when it's the right time
Mm,
and just enabling yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Responsibility.
Yeah, that's the main thing. But then
Right.
when your mind is all altered, like you don't know what's gonna happen next. You just you don't like
Yeah.
know how you're gonna feel. Like yeah, so it's all unpredictable. But that's why I do not recommend taking shrooms with alcohol because you will
Well, no.
get you'll just probably you maybe want to drive after that when you do it, but like because you're already like pretty loose, and then you take the psychedelic, the shroom, and then yeah, your mind is just completely different than it would be without drinking the beer or the liquor or whatever.
mixing alcohol and psychedelics I've found to be like some of my worst trips.
Yeah.
I'm not even really done it that
Yeah.
much. But when I was younger, and you just when you're younger, and you just like, oh, whatever. I've had a few beers, and someone gives me like, I don't know, a mushroom chocolate bar or some acid or something, and you think, oh yeah, this is gonna make me even feel even better. I'm gonna have even more fun. And actually, just again, literally, alcohol is a depressant, isn't it? So it's introducing that depressing energy into a trip.
Yep.
And as we know, a trip feeds off your sort of emotional state going into it and what you experience during it. And oh my god, yeah. I mean, I like drinking and getting a bit tipsy, but it gets to the point where I'm just like, oh my god, it's not a nice feeling at all. It just makes me really fucking get on a downer. That's why I've always gravitated towards again, just other substances because there's just a richer experience within them.
It's true.
Mm.
I've only done it to actually get into deep feelings while on psychedelics and during depressing times, so I just stay away from it for that reason.
Yeah. I think a lot of people want to. I get a lot of messages, and I just see it about quite a bit where people say, "Oh, I'm going in for a really rough period, and I've had this trauma very, very recently as well, like within a week of experiencing this trauma. That oh, I'm looking to get on psychedelics to try and heal myself." I was like, I understand the sentiment, but I think to really approach it safely, I think you've got to let the trauma sort of, you've got to have it sort of naturally, air it naturally for a bit, and then when you come in towards a point where you processed it like in a sober mind, then if you really want to get to the bottom of it, maybe do a psychedelic. But if you're doing it like you broke up with your girlfriend or whatever, you've been with your girlfriend for like 10 years, and then you get the next day you get on like 3 tabs of acid or whatever, you just you cannot process that within that day. Maybe some people can, but I think it's a bit too risky.
Is Tail still with us?
I think yeah, I don't. He's flying off to the astral planes again.
They're hacking us, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they tried DDoS. The Majestic 12. I can see him moving his mouse on the live feed. That's always a good sign.
What the heck?
No, you're right
Oh,
though. It's all about the right timing and the right setting though.
yeah, 100%. They don't just say it as obviously it's the age-old
Testing,
adage in it, set and
testing.
setting
Am I
going
talking?
into it.
Are you
And
good now?
I think people, yeah, you're back now.
Wait, no,
Yep,
I can't
you're
hear
back.
you guys.
Oh no.
Shit. Um,
Hear us?
CIA, isn't it?
hello,
He's back.
Yo,
hello. Oh, wait, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good. All right. Yeah.
And we're back.
I was gonna say because I started talking that I was like, and I noticed that you guys were still going. I'm like, okay, maybe I can't. You guys can't hear me. But what was I gonna say about the beer? Okay, so when I did the penis envy the other night, I was on drank 2 beers before, and that kind of made me want to take it. You know, that's another thing with that. And when I started drinking my third beer after taking it, I started tripping. Like I looked at it and I'm like, this is nasty, and I dumped it down the drain because I didn't want to drink it anymore. But yeah, I didn't have any so far with the shrooms I've gotten from the source. I have not felt I felt nausea one time, but these are some really good ones. I think they're just I'm not feeling really sick at all. So I'm glad I can do that because when I did the other shrooms when I did them first time 3 years ago, I got sick both times and I threw up the first time. So it's nice to not have that feeling of nausea just a little bit, you know, for that first when I did it again last week. But yeah, I think beer, alcohol could definitely make you nauseous though. So it's for another reason that's another reason why it's not a good idea to do that.
Yeah, I'm super sensitive to anything in my stomach, so makes it the thought of having mushrooms in my stomach and alcohol is just vomit inducing.
Yeah, gross. It just makes you want to purge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
and crappy things as well.
Yo,
I think he's gone again.
is he gone again?
Yeah, he was like right,
Oh,
moving
man.
on.
Yeah.
I was
Back
so
to
hyped.
sounds.
Messing with our heads.
Testing.
He's back.
I'm back
Here.
again. Okay, I think because I'm touching the headphone thing, I gotta stop touching it. I'm getting like it's like a fidget for me right now. But all right.
Yeah.
So okay, before we forget, I want to get to this British versus American culture because we were supposed to do it last time, and I really now that we have two Americans and we got one British man, let's do this. So basically,
Yeah.
what I want to talk about with the British versus American culture, not just the drug scene, but like in general. So like what over there in the UK, what is like the most popular substance people do that people love, they do all the time? Like what's the one thing people talk about the most other than like weed and like, because yeah,
Yeah.
just like a
Goes without
very
saying.
very powerful substance. Which one would you say?
So, in terms of just substances in general, yeah, obviously, alcohol and cocaine is the go-to for the UK. I think we have the highest abuse rates of cocaine in Europe, in Scotland. It's just any of my UK listeners know just how normalized cocaine and alcohol is. Just going to the pub, a simple little place like a pub where you just think everyone's just having a few beers, just being normal. But it's absolutely everywhere. It's crazy. I highly recommend watching this really good documentary on drugs in the UK called Drugs Map of Britain. It's on BBC iPlayer, and they talk about cocaine and how it's so rife. But in terms of, let's say, more psychoactive, hallucinogenic stuff, it's 100% ketamine. I mean,
Okay.
it's now synonymous, isn't it? The fact that people in the UK just like to get ketty all the time. It's like, how there's like drugs of each era. So you got like cocaine in the 80s. Obviously, that was a big one for the US. Over here, like the 90s, MDMA, ecstasy was huge with all the different electronic genres surfacing, like
Hmm.
trance, techno, house, jungle, DnB. But then something about the late 2000s, 2010s is now Ket's the it's become like the drug zeitgeist, and honestly, it's just everywhere. It actually is everywhere, and I think it feeds into. I think the reason people like gravitate towards it, 'cause it's the young people do, isn't it? Isn't it really? It's the young people who make the drug of the era. Not only does it complement like the music at the minute, because the sort of drum and bass roller type music almost sounds like you're on Ket when you listen to it. But I think it's because so many more people. I don't know if so many more people have it or if like it's becoming more known. I personally think more people have ADHD nowadays, and I personally, as someone who probably does have ADHD, the reason I got hooked on Ket and gravitate towards it so much is because it's a dissociative. It's like the only thing that sort of puts me in my place. I fidget a lot as well.
Facts.
I'm always moving about. And something about Ket, just it makes me just sit still and just take in whatever I'm experiencing, not needing anything else on top of it. And I think that's why it appeals to so many young people, because we're always just life's just so haywire, isn't it? Not even your own personal inner workings, but the world's just so crazy, isn't it? And Ket just makes you be like, oh, it's now nice and simple again.
Yeah, relaxing, right?
Mm.
Yeah, because I've never done it. No one, have you done it before?
Oh, I just did some last night.
Oh.
I can't even blame
I,
you.
I I love ketamine, dude. It's kind of big
Yeah.
over here in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, it's taking off, isn't it, in the US? Obviously, it's always been there, hasn't it? But I think there's a bit more of a scene for it now, isn't there?
And I know Chicago has been like kind of a hub for ketamine, from what I've heard at least. There's this kind of subculture going on, but
How much?
definitely
How
similar in
much
the
is it?
UK, which is the club scene. What's
Yeah.
that?
How much does it go for, like a gram of Ket in the US, where you're from?
Uh, Depending on quality and whatnot, it's anywhere from like $60 to $100.
That's crazy. Obviously over here it's the cheapest. It's the cheapest recreational substance you can buy. Like a gram of very, very, very good Ket. Obviously, sometimes it might not be good, but mostly it's very pure. At least like from around where I'm from, just from like dealers, it's just 20 quid a gram, that is so cheap, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
This
crazy.
This guy messaged me the other day. I know in Australia the prices of everything is super super high. This lad from America, I don't know whereabouts he's from. He messaged me, and he was talking about how his tolerance to Ket is now increasing, and it's not feasible for him to buy a gram anymore because he made a gram like last for ages. And And I was like, whoa, over here people go for a gram in like 2, 3 hours because it's so cheap and
Damn.
also the quality is so high. But for him, a gram cost $300, and that just blew my mind.
That's
That's
crazy.
crazy, dude.
I
Yeah,
know, I
I've
know.
never come across it in my life before. So yeah, it's wild that I feel like there's definitely a lot of people who do it, but in Ohio, like I don't hear people talking about ketamine. Like it's not something people do. Like what you said about coke, that's what Ohio
Mm,
is, coke, and there's a lot of meth heads I run into too, in
True.
some areas, and then heroin, of course. There's actually a city by me that's actually like a pretty much a hub for heroin and meth, and yeah, so it's you got more of that, and yeah, but their shrooms are also a big deal, but we already, and that's not what I'm trying to talk about here. Just the the ketamine
mate,
and stuff that I knew ketamine was definitely gonna be number one over there.
yeah,
It's crazy
I don't
how it can be
actually.
popular over there and like not as much over here.
Yeah, it's obviously something. The fact that it's so cheap, that obviously must be, yeah, that obviously importing it, getting it over to the US and Australia must seriously skyrocket the price of it. I know that a lot of it gets outsourced from like, it's like the Netherlands, labs in the Netherlands. A lot of it comes from like India as well, because obviously a lot of the actual lab grade cat is made in, yeah, laboratories in India. But that other one, that Drugs Map of Britain thing I was talking about, which, yeah, very funnily enough, I was actually asked to be on by
I remember that,
to
yeah.
yeah, it was bizarre. I don't know what happened with it. Because I thought it was a troll. Obviously, I was like, "This is just a troll, isn't it? This is someone just trolling me." But it was actually from the BBC and everything. And after a point, I couldn't actually reply to him because it was a legitimate. It was like, "Oh, this email has expired for the BBC. Please get in contact with us." Blah blah blah. And there's this Tia Dondish who used to work with Vice. She did a lot of the high society stuff, and I was like, "Oh well, this is actually like legit." And I said, "100%, I'd love to appear on it." But I think then it shifted hands because I don't think she let the project go. Maybe this is all just my hypothesis. And then this guy took over it. He needed the narration, and he sent it all down south in Devon, Cornwall area. Obviously, I'm up northwest, so obviously they just shifted ideas for it. But still, very very fascinating and relatable. The amount of stuff, like, again, it's, I don't know if you know about this, but the with Ket you get a perma tolerance where it's like no matter how long you stay off it, you'll never go back to how it was the first time. Obviously, that's the case of a lot of drugs, but Ket's even more extreme. So this is how people can go through it. Honestly, that ketamine addiction subreddit is crazy. People going through like, I mean, I saw one other day. There's like this guy and his three mates went through 70 grams in a whole weekend altogether. Like,
Jesus.
no, it's like what
That's
the fuck.
It's
crazy.
unimaginable.
That makes my
How can you
kidneys
smoke
like
that much?
rustle in agony right now. That's so fucked.
What are the biggest negative effects you've noticed from it?
For me, so what I've had is these things called K cramps, which everyone's a bit. I don't think anyone really solidly knows about it. Everyone's like, is it like a buildup of gas? It feels like what gallstones feel like. Some people say, oh, because ket's acidic, you swallow the drip. There's a buildup of acid, which then inflames your gallbladder. But basically, what is it for me? What I feel like, just feeling into the body when it happens, is after binges of people. Some people are more sensitive, and obviously I am. In fact, my mum has had to have her gallbladder out, so obviously, like just genetically speaking, obviously I'm more susceptible to damage from
Mm,
cat, which is very tragic. But yeah, that for me, it's everyone knows about the bladder, like you'll take cat and it'll erode your bladder. That's like the most famous
Mm-hmm.
damage from
right.
it. Like I would say, like for all the cat that I've had over my life, like my bladder's never had any pain with it at all. It's probably shrunk in size a bit, but no pain or anything. But yeah, the gallbladder and the liver gets affected by cat a lot because it gets processed through there. And if you're doing it every day, think of like what it's doing. It's crystallizing within your organs.
Right.
Think of that like 20 years down the line,
Yep.
and you can see how people have liver failure and kidneys as well. So for me, it was the gallbladder. That's horrible. Honestly, K cramps is the worst pain I've actually ever experienced in my life. I've never had many super painful experiences, but yeah, the 4 or 5 times I've had that, it's like Jesus, suffering is real.
Uh, yeah,
Humbling that.
I just looked up the ketamine addiction subreddit, and the first post I see is the long lasting cramp. So yeah,
It's rough.
that's crazy. Hmm.
But then some people can do it. Some people can do like 14 grams. Some people. I spoke to this a person because obviously a lot of people come to me about the ketamine addiction videos because I don't think there's many out there, and a lot of people in the UK suffer with it. My friends suffer with it. It's sort of like it's like an epidemic really. And people come to me like, oh, I'm doing like an eighth a day, and they've never had K cramps, and they're doing an eighth a day for a year. Whereas my usage was probably like an eighth a week at worst. So it just shows you how sensitive people really can be, and you don't know until it hits you. You're like, whoa, this is getting serious.
I wonder if you can get a genetic test to find out if you're a susceptible individual or not.
Yeah, that's true.
That'd be a good idea, actually. Is that even a thing?
I guess I could go.
I know this 23andMe. You can get a full reading of your chromosomes and whatnot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did the ancestry
But I'm not
stuff.
sure if we know exactly which. I'm sure we actually do. If you're going to be susceptible in that area with your gallbladder and whatnot.
Yeah.
I just hope I'm at a point now I don't even need to be going to it. I'm just like, right, let's just let the body do its thing. Let's heal. And I know a lot about the healing process of coming off ket to allow your body to restabilize. So many different chemicals, like famously, if you green tea, ECGC, I believe the chemical green tea, it flushes it out of your system. I think that's how I've prevented any damage to my bladder. Is that, I mean, I drink green tea anyway because I love it, and I have a very clean diet, so there's nothing else like damaging my system. So yeah, I'm on the mend, thankfully. But damn, I'm glad I've gone through it though, because then now I can come out the other side and say, right, I understand how it is for so many people. And I think people sort of laugh sometimes. I get in my comments, and I understand it because people, again, if you've never gotten addicted to something, you think, like, oh, how the hell can anyone get addicted to this, that, or the other? And I think even with ket, they're like, oh, well, ket's this psychedelic dissociative type thing. How can anyone get stuck on that when it's so extreme? And it's like, but you can get addicted to anything, can't you?
Yeah, anything like there's social media, food, gambling. I wouldn't say I was addicted to gambling, but I was going once a week, and that's a lot more than a bunch of other people are going. But yeah, I haven't gone in 2 months, and yeah, so it feels good to clean yourself from an addiction. What, if you don't mind us saying, like, when was the last time you did it? Like, when did you just like be like, all right, this is my last time. I have to, I can't do this anymore.
Well, on a level, I had to admit this in my ketamine addiction video because I didn't want to lie to myself. It's very easy to be like, yes, I'm in recovery when you're not really.
Right.
Right. I'm recovering. I wouldn't say in recovery because I mean, again, I have to be honest with myself. What I would like is for me to use the substance safely, wisely, which you can, and I used to as well until I got addicted to it due to like all these circumstances, trauma, and as of now, you get addicted to stuff, isn't it? Trauma, filling the void. You're wanting that meaningful experience that takes you out of like the depression or whatever. And then even when I got over that trauma, it was like, oh shit, now the next trauma is now I'm addicted to ket, and like that's the next thing. But yeah, honestly, I would say yeah, like last weekend I did do it, but the main reason I think I'm in recovery is because instead of then continuing the cycle, I was like, right, you've just done it now, and then I don't fall back into a habit of doing it like the next day, and then I'm like, oh right, this is just I'll just do it the next day and then let it go, and then the next day comes in, oh maybe I'll just do it again, and I feel like I've broken out of that mindset. So for me, that makes me think I'm doing much better. And yeah, I guess it is progress, isn't it? You don't just, I mean, you can stop cold turkey, can't you? But that is an especially difficult feat. And I mean, I'm only addicted to ket, and like, there's not many physical withdrawals really that are, obviously if you stop taking heroin or meth or alcohol, your body will go into like haywire, won't it?
Yeah, those are some very dangerous ones to stop, but and much harder.
Or Zans.
Oh yeah, Zans too. Yeah, benzos can be
Possibly
those are
the
so
worst.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you NoOne, have you had trouble with it in the past? Do you have experience?
With Xanax, not particularly Xanax. I have a little bit with hydrocodone, then a little bit with phenobutes, and a little bit with, I'd say, Addies indirectly. Just I was kind of like just playing myself at the time with Addies, but the first one was hydrocodone. I was taking like 60 to 80 milligrams, like daily at one point
Oh
for
wow.
like 2 to 3 weeks, I think. Just because I had like a huge fucking prescription bottle of it, and luckily I didn't even get withdrawals from it, to be honest. But I just knew, like, I saw the potential of just how my mind can get attached to it. And the thing with
That's
opiates, especially, it's like, so I was going through some, I lost someone recently and whatnot, and just going through some stuff.
mm-hmm.
So and it almost like subbed that love I had that was gone at the time, and it
Yeah,
like just made things feel like, oh, everything's gonna be all right. And it's like it literally can give you that love feeling. That's
that's
the
exactly how I got addicted to
scary part
ketamine.
about opiates.
Yeah, any
That,
drug that gives you that fulfillment, that love, that peace, you're gonna get hooked on it, aren't you? Because
mm-hmm.
it's so reproducible.
Yeah, because you're doing
Right,
it while like you did it to just like help yourself get through it through the trauma, and that's where the problem
right,
starts. If you I feel like well it could still addiction could still happen when you just do it for fun, but just doing it for that you're like bound to get addicted, and if you don't you're just very very lucky. I know opioid withdrawals can be very very bad too. Like you get the shakes, the sweats, like you just oh yeah I can't imagine being
no,
addicted
right. I
to.
was expecting something to happen. I just lucked out, I guess.
Yeah. Hey,
To
let's
be
go.
honest, I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Going back to the British American thing, what's interesting about the difference here between sort of drug use and yeah, what drugs people do is that meth and stuff like opioids and that really aren't very common over here. At least where I live. Obviously, there's
hmm
gonna be areas where they do. It's very very true. There are areas where they're hooked on, say, like certain opiates, and there probably are like meth ghettos equivalent in the UK, but it's not prevalent. Like, you won't go out and see someone really on meth. Like you might do one day, but it'd be an outlier. It wouldn't be a
Right.
commonality. Whereas say it's places in the US, like meth is absolutely rife, isn't it?
it's
And
crazy how much there is over here. It's insanity. The one time when I was at going to my friend's house, I was at this gas station, and I was just waiting outside for him. He was inside, and this meth head just came up to me and just started talking about it. Just started like, yeah, I do meth. She was like scratching her neck and stuff, and she was just started talking about it. She looked like a tweaker, dude. I just was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. I just wanted to be away from that, but that was definitely a weird experience for me because it's just you actually you hear about it, you read about it. I always read about meth stories on my channel, but when you actually see it in front of you, it's like an eye-opening experience just to see that.
yeah, like the possessed, isn't it?
hmm
Closest thing we've got to that is another one that I don't know how big it is in the US, but and I don't think it's really that big now. Obviously, it still is, but it's not in the public consciousness as much. Is sort of synthetic cannabinoids, famously Spice and all the other
Mhm.
weird brands, and they turn people into some possessed demon type thing. And I've seen a lot of people on Spice Manchester, which is like the closest really big city to me, is yeah that had a serious spice crisis, especially when the head shops could sell them, and now
hmm
it's been outlawed, and obviously it's gone to the black market and everything. But when you could go and buy it, even down the road from me, 20 minutes down the road, the town near me, there was a head shop, and that's where I first got salvia from in 2014, which is funny. You could buy it there, all these different types of extracts, and then you ask the guy like, oh, have you got anything a bit weirder. In fact, to be fair, don't get weird at the salvia. But yes, if you wanted to really mess yourself up, he's like, "Oh, have a look at my spice wares," and yeah, thank God that's not a thing that you can get easily anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Luckily, I was pretty young when that shit came out, so I'm glad that like I wouldn't been able to do it. But yeah, I don't see it too much anymore. Like no one really talks about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about you, no one, but yeah, it's
Yeah, have you ever taken
Yeah,
a
I've only
specific?
heard about it growing up, really. Like you said, it's not really like that around anymore.
yeah.
All right.
So like yeah, I'm trying to think of other things that could be around here that aren't like
Well, I got the
typical.
salvia from a head shop.
Oh, you
Mm.
did?
Yeah.
I know it's legal. I saw it was legal in California, but I don't know how it is in Ohio. So it's legal over there in Illinois.
No, it's not.
Oh,
I think my buddy was in Colorado and he just grabbed it. So
oh, okay.
it's one of the legal states.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't see like it definitely should not be legal. Like, I don't think it's a good idea for that. Something that powerful, and then you see alcohol. Like, alcohol is everywhere, and that, like, what would be worse to even do? You know, it's just like, you want to destroy your body with alcohol, or do you want to
Maybe
like
tobacco.
tobacco? Yeah, it's
Well,
dude.
probably not worse. That's the slower killer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've developed a bit of a bad habit. I've never, I mean, for when I was in sixth form, when I was like 17, 18, I did start smoking roll-ups, cigarettes, just because
Hmm.
I was at that age where I was like, go on, let's try it. And a few of my mates would give me like,
Yep.
right, go on, I'll make it a little habit. And I easily got off them after a bit. I was like, you know, I don't actually really enjoy this. It doesn't taste nice. I don't really like feeling nicotine. But now I'm addicted to these fucking vapes. I
Oh,
genuinely am
Uh,
addicted to them because there's so much. The nicotine I think the nicotine content is so much higher, and they're so easily bought. They look really aesthetically pleasing, and not only that, I can literally just pick it. I can just pick it up, and you can just tan it endlessly. Whereas like a cigarette, you've got to roll up, you've got to go outside, unless you
hmm.
smoke inside. But even then, like you have a cigarette, and like the last thing I'd want to do, and even many my smoker friends is want to have a cigarette immediately after having one. But with the vape, you just constantly just drugging on it. It's so bad. So that's my next addiction I need to get rid of. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I think it's the taste of it. Like the cigarettes, that'll keep most people away from people who don't smoke, just from the smoke taste in your mouth that just doesn't go away. But with vapes, you can get nice flavors and it makes you feel
Yeah.
really good. Though, so I just don't touch that stuff. Like I bought
Mm.
it a couple times and then I stopped using it after like a couple hits. I was like, why am I even hitting this? It's just not worth it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a big problem for kids. Like, even shit, I saw a picture that they found elf bars in elementary school. Like, dude, it's like this shit
Yeah.
way too young. These people are
It's
and like
worse.
getting it.
It's worse than kids getting. I mean, obviously, yeah, kids can get on cigarettes and can get them, but my God,
Yep.
now just even walking around my town, in fact, every single place I've seen, I'm just driving in my car and I'm looking like really like not even Gen Z, like Gen Alpha. They were like 10 years old, and
Mm.
they're genuinely on e-cigs and they're walking around, they're sort of like modern day chavs or whatever you want to call them, chavas, and they're just wandering around and they're all smoking e-cigs. I'm like, these people must be like 12, 13 when their brain is forming big time. It's like they are going to have some major addiction, nicotine
Oh, they
addiction
got the
problem.
Zens now too, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I just did a video on that on my second channel. That was, yeah, just hearing, oh yeah,
Yeah, I feel sorry for him. Like, it's really bad.
yeah, it's really sad. And chewing tobacco in general, I don't think that's not chewing tobacco, right? That's like a little, it's like a pouch of what's in
Yeah.
there.
You
Uh,
put in your gum, it goes into your gums, doesn't it? I've had
yeah,
one before.
Yeah, it's just a
Fucking
flavored pouch, right, with nicotine.
yeah. So like just regular chewing tobacco, that stuff is grosses me out the most. Just people spitting it in cups and oh god, it is. That's something that honestly that's worse than cigarettes in my opinion. That goes straight to your fucking gums. That gives you mouth cancer. Oh man,
I just
It's
imagine
terrible.
hillbillies doing that. It's like the stereotype. I don't know. Watch Simpsons and it's like Cletus is chewing tobacco and spitting it out, and that's I can't imagine just like normal people doing it. It's so weird.
you see a little bump in their mouth, like sticking out, like it's like a freaking a second chin with they just and they go.
Yeah,
They do that all the time, and
Gross.
oh man, it's so
not the
nasty.
one.
Um, all
Yeah,
right.
what other cultural differences off the top of our head?
Uh, is there like, all right, let's see here. So, how is Molly over there like in the club scene? I know over here a bunch of people take Molly. Is it a very popular rave drug over there too?
It's still very popular. Yeah, it's not left like I say when it's solidified in famously called it's called like the second summer of love in the late 80s. Obviously when acid house and all that came about, that's when MDMA became super famous. We call it Mandy over here. Obviously you call it Molly, so that's a cool little difference.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, there's a very famous club that used to exist in Manchester called the Hacienda. It's super famous. Worth looking into. It was where Joy Division and the Happy Mondays, Stone Roses all got their first real gigs as well. Like Oasis first went there, the Smiths, and oh no, they didn't
I've
know
heard
they
of
did the
it.
Smiths. Yeah, it's really famous, probably the most famous club in England, I'd say, other than say like what was it one, Fabric in London. But this one was super special because this was where MDMA first took ground because it went from like 70s, well, yeah, late 70s, early 80s, it was bands, it was like post-punk and all that stuff,
Hmm.
leading into sort of like Manchester, which was like the build up to Britpop. But then when club music came from, obviously house music came from like Chicago, didn't it? I believe, in America, and then it came over here, and we put our own little spin on it, and that's when it's like, well, people they're stopping drinking, and they were stopping buying drinks in this club, and then that's when MDMA became big, and it's still to this day is huge, huge. Like you cannot go to a drum and bass rave. And not spot someone absolutely twisted, when they've got the gurns, the jaws flying off, their eyes are rolling around. It's just a classic thing that you see at these festivals and raves. So it's not gone anywhere, but yeah, Ket has definitely taken over it now, in a general sense, as being the drug of choice. But yeah, uh, ecstasy is still about, and it's still very strong as well. It's even stronger nowadays, isn't it? Supposedly.
Yeah. So, question about ketamine and MDMA. Do people do like to take that together over there when they
Oh,
go clubbing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I don't even know what the
Hand in
name for
hand.
that is. Yeah, yeah, it definitely goes hand in hand. Yeah, it's 100% the most common thing to have on if you're wired, if you're on MDMA as we call it. Yeah, you are usually supplementing it with Ket, or if you don't like doing it when you're on it, it's like the best thing to do when you've come down because you've gone from you sort of like you're a bit frazzled, aren't you? Sometimes after you take MDMA, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
the cat just like eases you back into just relaxation because obviously when you take MDMA, it's stimulating, isn't it? You can be all over the place. Cat relaxes you, so it honestly, yeah, like you say, it goes hand in hand. And yeah, it's probably
Is
better
the
to do it.
term kitty flipping?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, it makes
Uh,
sounds like it should be.
Kitty
And
or
then
Ketty?
kitty
kitty, I
Oh,
think.
okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
It's like, yeah. I
kitty
wonder why it's
flipping there.
called that.
Uh, and then obviously, I think psychedelics are super. 2CB is super popular from what I found. From just this is obviously that I can't speak for the whole country because that's just impossible. But from my experience going to all these raves, talking to all these people, it's very that if you're not doing MDMA or cat at a rave or drinking, you're doing a psychedelic, and it's usually going to be 2CB because, like we've talked about, I think for many people it's the most recreational psychedelic in a sense
I
because it can be
agree.
so
Yeah.
light. It can be so light and fun. And going to a rave, I mean, I've gone to so many raves and like shrooms and festivals and shrooms and
Hmm.
acid. And there's always a point. Me and my mates always laugh about this. We always end up doing it, or we don't do as much anymore psychedelics at festivals because we've realised how like profound it can be and sort of distracting from just the leisure. There's always a point when we're doing it at festival, we're taking acid or whatever, and there's just a point where we all go crazy at the same time. And like in hindsight, it's like a beautiful experience, but in the moment, you're like, oh fuck, I'm going insane. Like we went to Boomtown Festival. We're all on acid, and then we had this idea, like everything became really ordered. We had the whole group together, the whole camp, which is really hard to get everyone on the same page. Everyone's on acid. Everyone's operating at the same wavelength. Right, we're gonna go and watch the main act we all want to see. We get to the main stage. The main stage has been called off because of high winds and that. And then in that moment, everyone lost their minds because it's like they were so stuck on this reality that was going to be made apparent. Like, oh, we're going to go to the main the main act, all be on acid. It's going to be beautiful. And then when something trips that up, then everyone goes off into like chaos mode, and we all got lost. We all ended up on our own weird adventures. And it's good, but yeah, that's part of the trip, isn't it? Though it takes you on a journey. So the TTB is a trip, isn't it? But it's a bit more manageable, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely more manageable. I see that with 2CB. It's like that's why I said it's become my favorite now because like I know I'm not gonna panic on it. I know I'm not gonna like the visuals will be strong still, but like compared to shrooms and stuff like that, like it's not as insane, and that's what I just love that, dude. It's just it makes me feel good, and yeah, about panicking and stuff. That's just not gonna happen. Like even when I try to like I need to panic right now because my anxiety and depression that hits me, but like it just told me not to. Like I'm like, all right, well I'm gonna have a good time, and yeah, it's
That's
just
awesome.
So no, I forgot if you said you've done 2CB before. Have you? I forgot.
No,
You
I have
haven't. Okay,
not. You
yeah.
guys are making me excited as fuck.
Oh, you will love it. It will resonate with you a big time.
hmm
So I am planning on it here. I was going to this month. I'm meeting a buddy out in Iowa and stuff who has it. So, but we're gonna try next month and see. It's gonna happen this year though.
Yeah, I would say to start off, I'd say do what I did last night was 30, but the first time I did was 23. So I would do in between that maybe. Would you say that's a good dose, Vivek, for your first time?
Yeah, I'd say yeah, 20 to 23. 18 to 23 is sort of the like common dose, isn't it? Going
hmm
up to sort of
Okay.
yeah, but again, yeah, just you can experiment around. I don't know if I mean I've taken two CB pills before and had like a super trippy experience, but never anything that could compare to my most extreme acid mushroom
Yeah, same here.
DMT experiences. But then I've had mates. I've had because obviously it was common for us if we're going to have a party, if I'm hosting a party or we're going to rave, we'll all get on 2CB. And some, like I say, we know the people. Some people are more sensitive to psychedelics, and some of my mates come back to me telling me, "Oh my God, at the time I took 2CB was the most intense psychedelic experience of my whole life." And they'd taken acid before and not even thought about it. And acid's sort of like a light psychedelic for them. It's just loads of funky colours and it lasts for ages, and they're just laughing all the time. And then one of my mates, he took 2CB and he'll never ever, he says he'll never ever take it again. And it was just off one pill that we all took. Everyone else was fine. And he had like a super insane trip. I remember he told me he was in my bathroom and he was on the toilet and he was actually vomiting and everything. He was sort of like purging.
Wow.
And he looked
Man.
at this really was mad. This what he described. He said he was in the bathroom and he looked at a flower that was on like the windowsill, and he saw the flower like wither and die and then regrow over and over and over again until he came down, and he just stared at it the whole night.
Holy shit.
And that was just on one like 23 milligram 2CB pill. So it just shows you just never know, do you? But yeah, best
That's
to
the
be
start
aware
off
that
light. Yeah.
yeah, like I say to everyone. I mean, I'll make you a broken record on my channel. Like, so many people comment on the memes, on the Discord, on the messages, whatever. Like, oh, I've taken all these shrooms before in the past, and I understand where they're coming from. I get it. I feel like I'm a veteran of psychedelics. I've never taken acid. Should I take 250 micrograms? And I was like, the only reason you're thinking about doing that is because you're sort of trying to chase the profundity that you've got from these other psychedelics. And
hmm
realistically, if you're really passionate about psychedelics, I think you should experiment with all the ranges up to a point where
Yes.
you cannot handle it, because there will be a point where you cannot handle it at all, no matter how much of a veteran you are. It's going to change. Even Terence McKenna said that the super psychedelic god of humanity, he got to a point where he was taking shrooms later on in life, and it actually scared him, and he gave up. I swear. Don't yeah, don't take that as like fact, but I swear someone said it got to a point where he had no apprehension about taking mushrooms for most of his life, and they had just one trip on the same dose or whatever that he'd always taken, and it just freaked him out. And then ever since then, and I think until he died, he was a bit scared of the mushroom. So
Yeah.
you don't know your limits, do you, until you're challenged.
Until you take it. Until you take it. Like
Yeah,
you
just take it.
pussy. That's the pressure of people telling you to take these things. Like, oh, I'm fine on it. I mean, why don't you? That's why I don't want to do acid. It's just acid. I don't know for you, no one, but it's for me. It's too much deep existential thoughts for me. I already have so much, and it just makes me just very uncomfortable. I just can't do it anymore. I last time I did it was like a little tiny corner piece of the orange sunshine version. It's like a
Yeah.
little gel. Like this guy at work always got it. He does acid a lot. He's like in his 50s. He probably shows up to work on it, and he told me he got like 400 pieces of acid recently. That's way too much, dude. I don't know how he can like do all this all the time at his age. You could tell he's a little messed up. He's crazy. He's a crazy man, but I love him. He's a nice guy. He's just man. He's crazy, and I don't want that to
That's what
happen.
we were talking about before too. If you can get addicted to anything, right?
hmm
Psychedelics. I feel LSD is one of those ones.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah, because I did that video. I said, "Can you get addicted to psychedelics?" And I did try to talk about it quite nuanced, but of course there's going to be some people saying yes, you cause alcohol or cocaine, where they're like you literally your brain on a biological level is like, right, I need that dopamine, and obviously there's going to be some dopamine euphoric release with LSD. But I said personally, for me, what's interesting about psychedelics, yes, you can get addicted to them 100% psychologically, but what's interesting is that they can be anti-addictive because you can have a profound trip into profound trip that gives you insight into like the nature of your addictive habits. And that's the beauty of psychedelics. Yes, they can be addictive, but they can also stop you from becoming addicted to other things. And even the psychedelic itself, like so many people go, I think Britney Spears or something go to the Amazon rainforest and do ayahuasca to get rid of some addiction or some trauma. I'm sure many celebrities and anyone who's had an addiction goes to do that. And ayahuasca can be one of the best psychedelics for getting over addiction. I mean, fuck me, but it's also interesting that you can actually get addicted to ayahuasca itself. I don't know if you know about this guy called Connor Murphy. I bet a lot of people listening to this have heard of him. Yes, he was like a sort of like gym bro, sort of self-help personal development guy, and he got into psychedelics and he developed this very like twisted god complex, and he did ayahuasca every single day, and he was 100% addicted to it. And that's like the most unimaginable thing for me to get addicted to, but it just proves that certain people can. And this guy lost control of his life like big time. Like he had everything: big YouTuber, big influence, awesome, and seemed to be a really sound guy. And then ayahuasca gave him this twisted god complex, and then he wasn't paying his bills. His house was a wreck. He was filming himself doing loads of mad shit. And yeah, it just shows you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that he
And
probably
makes
had
you
a bad time.
delusional.
Yeah. That's I know you're familiar, Nolan, with Aaron Rodgers, how he did ayahuasca and he won like 2 MVPs after that. He said he like opened like it just opened the door for him, and I'm not a big fan of him, but like after that, that's crazy that people in like who have such a big influence in sports and celebrities like that, they can just go and do it and nothing like it's like people see it as weird. They're like no the normal people around the world, they don't know like ayahuasca. The only reason they know about it now is because of him probably, but yeah, he had a very eye-opening experience, and I don't know if that had anything to do with winning 2 MVPs, but he said it did. And yeah, it's crazy because you see all these negative experiences from it. I'd be afraid to do it, but like if I was with a shaman and maybe with another friend, like I was with last week with the shrooms, I feel like it would be a better time. But I'm worried about the vomiting, the even shitting. You know, I just don't I don't want that to happen. You know, but it's
And whatever else might come out as well.
Right. You could be shit out of your mouth, dude, or something. I don't know. Just anything comes out. Your pores start bleeding instead of sweating. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I have a
Bleeding
justifiable
from your eyes.
oh god.
I don't think I have a justifiable reason right now in my life to do ayahuasca, and I think
Same here.
I do because I don't really have like any worthy traumas to seek out this super purging mystical experience, and I feel like a lot of me, if I did go and do it, a lot of it would be just like psychedelic curiosity, and oftentimes I found that just like the age-old adage of curiosity killed the cat. So many people take salvia thinking, yeah, I've done all these psychedelics, done psychedelics my whole life, and all this. It's like, yeah, whatever, we'll try this salvia, and it's like, well, when you exist as like a Ferris wheel for eternity and come back, you're gonna have a difficult time waking up in the morning and doing all your normal stuff. I know I would.
Yeah.
You're just constantly gonna be going back to that experience like, holy shit, reality is not just this little frame that I experience. It's a whole of a dimension entirely, infinite dimensions.
Yeah,
That's where I'm kind of at if I ever decide to do ayahuasca.
I'd have to have a very good reason to do it. If something seriously like messed up happened to me that I couldn't work through myself, and I was having difficulty processing it, and I needed to purge, then that's when I feel like the time would be right. Obviously, in the peak of my ketamine addiction, I did start. I had a few trips, but the ket just took over my life, and I stopped tripping as well, which I also think was a problem. But on the tail end now, towards my recovery, I would say the psychedelic trips that I've had in this last 6 months, every single time I trip, I do get a deeper insight into, because obviously it always comes up every time, because the main piece of suffering in my life is the ketamine addiction. It always comes up in the trip, and I have to face it, and I have to like analyze it, get to the root of it, try and process it. But ironically, ironically, what happens is usually the day after I end up getting on ketamine after the trip, which is it's tragic, but it's also necessary because I feel like I had to do it the day after to relive that pain with the insight from the night before, and then that's oftentimes when I'm like, why am I doing this? Instead of just doing it mindlessly. So that's an interesting thing about just suffering, isn't it? Sometimes you have to suffer again with a different perspective to then get over it. Oftentimes, like
To remember and fully integrate it, right?
yeah, absolutely. Because it's a pendulum that swings back and forth. I've got a mate who he's clean, been like 100+ days now, or even longer, and he was polysubstance addict. I've never met anyone with worse drug problems than him. And there was a point where he got off it for ages, but then he relapsed super hard. But then he said to me that super intense relapse was finally the straw that broke the camel's back, where it's like there is no enjoyment here. This is me just poisoning my mind, body, and soul. So he had to go through that suffering again. But yeah, like you say, no one to integrate it fully.
Yeah, the suffering leads to positive usually, but other times it can just never, you can never come down from it. That's the scary part about these substances. Like you can either take it as a growth, or you can take it the completely wrong way and just never get back to normal. But yeah, usually if you have a bad trip on something, you take it for what it is and learn. But yeah, it's these bad trips and everything. It's very eye-opening experience and very humbling. And yeah, I don't recommend having one, but if you do, just take it for what it is and try to build off of that.
Yeah, there's a bit of a myth, isn't there? That people say there are no bad trips, there's only good trips, and I was like, I understand the sentiment because
Yeah.
you can grow from a bad experience. A normal bad experience is a bad trip, but I think there's a difference between a bad trip and a bad experience and a catastrophic trip and a catastrophic experience. Like, if you are in a trip and you jump out of a window and you break your legs and you're in a
Mm.
wheelchair for the rest of your life, like,
Yeah.
Yep.
that is a catastrophic experience. But if you have a bad trip, you go mental, you lose your mind, you just go insane, and yeah,
Hmm.
that can be catastrophic. But you can pull back from that and use it to make your life better. But I mean, even if you do get in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, it's going to change your life forever. And I guess if it happens to you and you can't walk again, you've got to find a way to deal with that and integrate it. But you will never ever be able to go back physically to that state, can you? And if you do go insane, there's a chance you can come back and be even better. But yeah, losing your arm, losing your leg, losing whatever on it,
Yeah.
even if it's hard to come back from that, it's going to be even more challenging,
Yeah.
and possibly may never come back from it. It might just be like, right, I've ruined my life. That's it.
Yeah, the bad trips like that, ones that are definitely bad. Those you cannot justify making something good out of that. But you know, you have to live with it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the part that's scary. Like something happens to you while on it, like you're just not thinking straight, and like you said, you break a leg or you go in a wheelchair or something. That's terrifying to think about happening. Or when you're in a car with someone who's driving
Oh
and
God, yeah.
you're tripping and you like there's an accident or something, just sober anyway.
Yeah.
It's very scary. Very life is very scary. I'll say that.
It's a
It's
brutal beast in it, life.
mm-hmm. It's
But you've just got to roll with the punches. I've found with life. I mean, how often do they talk about like the
Well,
Buddhist
what's meant
idea?
to happen is meant to happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can consciously work around all these traps and pitfalls and dangers in life, you sort of start to master it in a sense. But there's always going to be another pitfall for you to have to work around.
mm-hmm.
And the thing is about life is that yeah, it's sort of unfair in a beautiful way because it's not going to give you the easy answers. You've got to figure it out, haven't you? And that's more rewarding than life being completely perfect. Because like I would say, I always imagine this. Everyone's that the thing everyone says like, well, if God created the universe, He would have just created this like perfect, loving thing. Then there's no suffering. It's like, yeah, but if you think about this, even in like, say if like you're making a video game or something, like how boring are these games when you turn on God mode and you just like, there's no challenge to it.
Mm-hmm.
Legit,
No, right.
how boring are movies and TV shows where there's no stakes. Like obviously there's just some fun. There's just some TV shows and games that are just fun, just to knock about. Like on Minecraft, creative mode. Creative mode is awesome, and you're creating all this stuff, and it's sick. But there's not really any like tension, is there? When you go in survival mode in Minecraft, if you're in survival mode in Minecraft and you make this giant city that and you struggled through it to make that's more rewarding for me than making a giant city in creative mode where there's no stakes. So that's what life is sort of like, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where I feel like creativity has gone and is going towards, and mostly we're just going to be focused on the present moment.
Yeah, I think
there's just so much creative like expression today, and so many stories being expressed in so many different ways. I feel like we're going to hit a cap at some point.
Yeah, interesting
thought on that. Yeah, I never actually thought of that before.
Yeah, how far can we go with just like art and creativity and stuff? And I feel like it swings back and forth, doesn't it? We go through periods of like stagnation culturally. I think obviously many people now think that okay, Hollywood movies are not the same as they were in the 90s, like 90s big movies, Jurassic Park, Matrix, this, that, and the other, Fight Club, super deep, super big blockbuster summer movies. And like the big blockbuster summer movies now is like Free Guy or whatever. And there's no substance to it. But then there's always going to be a counterbalance, isn't there? There's lots of good indie movies, and even if you think the same with music, you think like popular music is whack or whatever. But it's like we always say this, don't we? Like this is your movie Sucks said this other day on Sardonic. Oh, it's top quality. I listened to Sardonicast, the podcast he has, and it got really deep into it the other day about like our perception of just stuff at the time, where we're like, oh, this big new song that everyone listens to is shit. It's like, yeah, but maybe in 10 years they won't even remember it. Like he looked up what's the biggest movie of 1996, and one of the biggest movies was like some shitty comedy with Whoopi Goldberg that no one remembers or cares about, but it was the biggest movie of that summer. So it's crazy how perception works like that, isn't it?
And then they can become cult classics later on. You know, even bad movies can be very enjoyable. Like especially the number one. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but The Room. It's very, very popular. That movie is something else, man. That movie is hilarious. Every time, dude, it's just like this was actually made by a real person. They actually acted like that. He actually thought that was a good way to make a movie. But yeah, that's...
Well, hi, Mark.
How's your sex life?
That's unreal. That is the epitome of so bad it's good, because it's on another level of terrible that it's almost like accidental genius, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas the worst movies, or the worst anything for me, the worst games, worst music, TV show, films, books, whatever, it's when they're just mid, when there's just nothing, when it's just fluff, and there's nothing to it. That's why I don't like Marvel films. I'm completely fair enough if people like Marvel, because there's a lot of attachment to the characters. I 100% get it. But when I watch them, it doesn't do anything for me at all, and they're the worst films for me.
They're all the same.
That don't do anything. Yeah, they're not even like bad, because they're not bad at all, but they're not, for me, they're not great. So then they're just forgettable. But then I watch something. I don't know if have you ever watched the Blair Witch Project 2? That is so bad, but it's almost beautiful in a sense because of how bad it is.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
It's worth a watch. The first one is like a classic, isn't it, of horror. It was the first really big found footage film, or probably the first, and it's still the best, I think, overall. They perfected it, didn't they? And then the second one is just nothing like the first one. It's got like the new metal 2000s Marilyn Manson soundtrack. Here, let's go. And it's like there's no found footage, and it's just like, the more goth aesthetic, and they're going in the woods and they try to recreate the first film, and there's like elements of genius in it, but the everything else about it is so bad. It's worth it.
Is there a monster in that or something?
Honestly, I can't even remember what happened. it's so confusing. It's in the first one that it's all left up to your imagination. I think the second one,
Yeah.
it actually got quite a bit. I don't even want to spoil it. Gets quite meta around like what the reaction to the first film. But it's worth watching because it's one of them. It's one of them films you just watch with your buddies when you're getting like a bit stoned or you're getting a few beers and you just want to take the piss out of a film and laugh at it.
Book of Shadows.
And then nothing good ever happened in that. They reveal the fucking witch, don't they? And I just couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, I think I saw that one actually.
That's
Yeah,
shit,
this
that.
one I never seen the Book of Shadows. I did see the problem with the Blair Witch that I have is that I really wish I could have seen it when it came out because that would have been like an amazing experience. For me, it just seemed like a normal horror movie but there were some creepy aspects to it, but I feel like not being around in the 2000s, like when it came 1999 when it came out or whatever year it was, like that's when I was born. So like I couldn't enjoy that experience. I just had to watch it like without all that. Like I already know all the stigma around it, and that kind of made it worse for me. But I could see why it was such like a cultural classic movie. You know, it definitely, you know, pulled the punches with that.
I went into it blind when I first watched it when I was in high school. I'd obviously always heard of it, and I had no idea about it. So, and we were all big. I was just getting into horror. I was always really scared of it growing up, and now I'm a massive horror buff.
Me too.
And that film, because not knowing anything going into it, watching it with all my mates, it was the scariest experience I've ever had watching a film because I didn't know anything. And when you don't know anything about that film, all of the shocking, disturbing moments hit you because you don't know it, you have no frame of reference. And I remember at the end of that night, I genuinely rang my mum to come and pick me up because I couldn't sleep over at my mate's house because I was that scared.
Wow.
Really traumatized you.
Yeah, the film that traumatized me the most actually was not that. It was when I was younger. It's hilarious. My uncle my uncle used to have LimeWire, pirated all these movies, and 28 Weeks Later had just come out on DVD. And for some reason, in his mind, he thought it was a really good idea to show me as like a 10-year-old lad. And my cousin, who's like 3 years younger than me, he was like 7. He's like, "Oh, we'll watch 28 Weeks Later." I don't even think he even knew what it was about. I think he just thought it was like an action movie. And that the first scene when they're in the house and she goes up to they let the little boy in, and then obviously they're like, "Oh shit, the infected are gonna come," and then they think like, "Nah, I'll be fine." Then she goes up to the door and there's this massive jump scare, and the infected jumps through the door, ripping her apart. And I just ran upstairs and I started crying, and I had to get my mum to pick me up again that time. Oh, that was fucking traumatizing.
Man, I wish I could feel that way about scary movies again.
Yeah, I'm so nullified to them now. I
Right.
just don't get scared. Being
Yeah,
decent.
movie that always terrified. Well, actually, this one I just saw a couple of months ago near Halloween was. I think you've seen it, Vivek. I think I told you the Wreck. That movie was very, very good. That's my favorite found footage movie because I didn't know anything. Like I knew about the movie. I knew it was really good. Like Your Movie Sucks. He recommended. He's put it as one of his best found footage horror. And it was crazy. I did not expect anything that was going to happen. I just knew it was like zombies and stuff. But yeah, it was totally blew my socks off with that movie. That was a very, very well made.
Probably the best one, yeah. In fact, obviously, Blair Witch Project is the classic, but I think Wreck was like, okay, we've done it now. There's no more found footage films ever again, please, because you just cannot top that.
Then there's Paranormal Activity that came out, and that kind of like that really ruined everything.
That was the hype train.
Yeah, dude, everyone was like saying it was the scariest movie ever, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it's the most profitable movie ever made too. Because it was like either that or Saw, but I think it was like let me look it up. I'm gonna see what the budget was. I think it was like less than $1 million, or maybe it was like 7 million or something. But it made over 100 million at the box office. Let me see here really quick. Oh, 15,000. It cost to make.
That's a lot of money in the grand scheme of films.
194.2 million off of 15,000. Just think about that, dude. Imagine like. That's why there's some hope. I've always wanted to make a movie, and it says Blair Witch was $60,000. So that's actually surprising. It didn't seem like it would be that much, but well, probably for the marketing and stuff. That's probably what cost money for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, 15,000. I know the movie that came out last year called Skinamarink. I didn't see it. I just feel like I probably
Mm.
wouldn't like it, but that was 15,000 too, and that made a couple million. So it's cool to see how these movies make all that money
Yeah.
from just nothing, basically.
I was gonna say,
What a Terrifier.
Oh,
oh,
Terrifier!
Terrifier.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
wait
I've
for
not,
Terrifier 3, dude. Oh, that's gonna be.
I've not seen it, but I am a bit of a gore fiend, and I've watched clips of it, and I'm like, fair play. That's some majorly good practical effects there.
Wait, no, have you seen? Did you watch Terrifier 2 in theaters
No,
or?
I've only seen the first one.
Oh my God! There's in Terrifier 2, there is a scene in the middle in the girl's bedroom. It is, I mean, you can
I've seen
tell.
that one.
Yeah, oh my God, that is the craziest scene I've ever seen. It was definitely worse than the one in the first one where they saw the woman in half. But that was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, dude, that was, it just kept going and going and going. And that the only problem with the movie I had was that it was too long. It was like 2.5 hours basically, and the ending just kept
Mm.
dragging on and on. But this
That's
one,
a long time.
yeah, this
Yeah, it's for a gore movie.
Terrifier 3 is gonna be. They said it's gonna be even crazier with the gore, but hopefully they fix the editing because they definitely could have taken out like 30 minutes or even maybe 45 to an hour because there was stuff that was not needed in there. But yeah, I loved it.
A lot of great movies could be even better if they were cut down the fluff to make it more concise.
Right.
I mean, I've watched a lot of 3 hour plus films, and some of them are a bit of a drag. But when something does suck you in, I mean, like Lord of the Rings, I literally can just watch them forever. Like,
Facts.
they're like 4.5. Like Return of the King is like 4 hours and 12 minutes, and I literally just happily watch that. But then other films, I just think, like, oh my god, what? Why the? It's just dragging itself out, and you might have loved it for the first 2 hours and 10 minutes, and then the rest of the runtime, you're like, oh, your experience of the film is soured, and that's a sad thing when something had the potential to be the best thing ever.
Yeah, you need a good editor for for movies. It's for sure.
I was going to say, going back to the question said before about the movies that have drugs in them, the film that I 100% recommend you both watching. Anyone, I did a video on it last Halloween. It was like the most disturbing, the most horrifying, trippy film you've never seen. Even though it's a cult classic called Altered States, and it's just a perfect title, isn't it?
Altered
And it's
States. Look it up.
it's excellent. There's a bit of it where you're like, oh, again, that film could have been trimmed down. There's a sequence with a monkey that I won't go into, and it just went on a bit too long. But all the rest of it, it has the best like psychedelic sequences in any film I've ever seen, other than The Holy Mountain, which wasn't about psychedelics, that's just trippy. But this film is about. It's based upon sort of the CIA's investigation into mind alteration, clairvoyance, sensory deprivation, and psychedelics to basically alter your mind so much that you've got these superhuman powers. And all these like materialist scientists are telling him, like, no, there's no way you can do any of this stuff. And he's having like visions of like alien creatures and entities and like actually being possessed by them. And obviously no one takes him seriously. Think, oh, it's just wacko. It's his brain misfiring. And it's like, no, he's actually like talking to entities because he went and did like this mad brew with these like Shabibo tribe. It's mad. Honestly, watch it. It's fucking crazy.
It says an hour 42 minutes, so I'll definitely take a look at it. It's not. You said it's a little.
Great length.
It feels long for what it is.
Not even that it feels long. There's just a sequence where you think maybe this was dragged out a bit, because I think they really, the 80s. I mean, I fucking love like practical effects. And,
Me too. Yeah.
The Cronenberg, Carpenter, and then this guy who did Altered States is just like the other guy who was involved in it, and this is his biggest film. And the practical stuff and the imagery, the editing, the artistry, they obviously went full whack with that. And then there's just a point where it's like, okay, we can't do a full film like that, otherwise we're gonna run out of money. And then there's this monkey in it for some reason. It's quite funny, but definitely get it watched and get back to me, because I think you'll enjoy it.
Let's see where it's streaming at. It's on.
What's funny about it is, do you know the song "Take on Me" by Take
Of course, yes.
What's so bizarre about that music video is it's a recreation of the ending scene of that film, Altered States.
Oh, really?
How bizarre is that?
That's
And there's
crazy.
an episode of South Park where like he's like losing control and he's like getting possessed by some entity, and there's a massive reference to the scene from Altered States that Take On Me is parody, and it's like, holy fuck, you would have never imagined that this really niche B movie would inspire like one of the biggest songs of all time. Right?
That's
That's
crazy. I did
crazy.
not know that. I
I
didn't even
know.
know what this movie existed before that.
We
That's
learn something new every day, don't we?
Oh, shout out Internet Archive. I found the two Scooby Doo movies on there, and Altered States is also on there. So
Oh
shout out
wow.
that website. Yeah,
Oh, that's sick.
yeah. So I'll probably watch it on
Yeah.
there. Definitely don't want to go on a website that has numbers in
oh
it.
Oh yeah.
I trust
no,
.orgs and .nets a
What's
lot
that?
more. The .coms
Mm,
and movies 123.
mm.
Yeah.
uh,
I
that's
think I gave Bezos some money for Altered States on Prime, and then I was like, why have I even done this? I literally bet I could have just typed it in online, and someone's thrown it out there because they're not even making that much money off these films anymore. But,
yeah.
it's
Definitely don't.
weird. Yeah, it's a bit of a grey area pirating. Like, that's what I respect about your movie sucks. It's just no filter. Like, yeah, I pirate movies. Like, if I don't think they deserve the money, like if I'm gonna pirate some big blockbuster bullshit that doesn't need any more monies, and if I care about a film like an indie film, I'll do my best to try and support it in any way I
Right.
can. But then some films
Facts.
like some films you just cannot find. There's this film that YMS talked about, and it's called Revenge. It's like revenge, means like revenge in Austrian. Oh, one of the best foreign films I've ever watched in my entire life. You cannot find it anywhere. Like the DVDs are so expensive. It's not on streaming anywhere. I couldn't even find it on the most famous pirate sites. And I was so dedicated to watch this film. I found it on the most obscure, out there, numbered site, the dodgy pirated site. And I got it. I got the file. I watched it. And then the day after, I went on my PC, and someone was just basically controlling my mouse, because
Oh
controlling my
God.
mouse from like another computer. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, oh, how the hell have I got a virus? And I thought, oh shit, it was that pirating website last night. And mate, it was bad. Like they stole money out of my bank, and they were buying like dominoes on PayPal and everything.
Jeez.
They were hacking into my Gmail just because I wanted to watch this Austrian film, which I managed to watch. But there was like a super virus hidden within it, and they really fucking got me with that.
Was it worth
That's
it?
crazy.
Oh, it was definitely worth
It
it. I
was
loved
worth
it.
it. Yeah, what I used to, there's this thing called Popcorn Time where they had movies on, their new movies, and I was watching for the longest time. And one day, when I lived with my mom, we got a letter in the mail that said, if you continue to get movies for free, we will like charge, or like, I don't know if it was arrested or something, but they were gonna do something. So that scared the shit out of me. Getting a letter from,
No
I don't,
way.
it wasn't even from the Popcorn Times, it was from something that, but it was, man, it was scary. My mom saw it, she's like, what the hell? What are you watching on my computer?
Oh yeah, my mum always got
That's
really,
crazy.
yeah, she always got really scared when I was like, oh, I'm pirating a film back in the day, and I knew what I was doing yeah, for the most part. And she's like, no, you can't do that on my PC. What if I get a Trojan or something? Like, no, relax. If anyone's gonna get one, it's gonna be me when I go on this dodgy Austrian pirate base site. Like, if it's just normal movies, I mean, everyone knows about. I don't know if I can say it, but there's so many. Pirate Bay was the big one back in the day, and
Yes,
that's much harder to
yeah.
get a hold of.
Yeah.
But it's just it's just so fucking easy to watch stuff for free, isn't it? Like you can go on like a streaming site, like just type. It's so easy, isn't it? Just type in XYZ online HD, and you'll just find one. It might not be in the best quality, but if you're not asked, if you're not bothered about quality, you can literally just even like say like anime and stuff, like all these big anime series. Like I've started watching One Piece, NoOne. I know you're a fan
Yeah.
of that. And it's just crazy, isn't it? How easy to watch it is online. Like even though,
Yeah, it's stupid.
yeah, and I can't get on
Just go to
streaming.
go, right?
I can get on Crunchyroll and that, but it's like, what the hell's the point when it's in the same quality on another site, and this site's been up for like years and years and years, and it's not been taken down. It's like I feel really sorry for the people who like slave away making anything, and it's just you can't even find it on streaming, like on Prime or something, on Netflix. They'll take away these films that people buzz off. You're like, yep, we've not got the rights to it, or we're letting it go. And it's like, I feel sorry for these people who slave away for this art, and fucking bad, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really,
to be honest.
streaming is a dodgy one for the artists, I think.
I just found Revanche on HBO Max, so I have Max, so
Oh
I
well,
could definitely watch
this
it there.
this is the thing again. Obviously, I live in the UK, and this is this is a load of bullshit with like streaming over here. Like you've got all this other stuff on HBO Max and Paramount Plus and Prime and Netflix, and you get the Americans definitely get more of a selection, better selection.
Hmm.
And over here in the UK, like HBO Max. I can't even get that. I don't even think. I probably can get like a limited version of it. But,
People do
oh, they've
use
just
VPNs and stuff to
yeah.
switch to watch other things, like because there's stuff in America that's not, or there's stuff in other countries that aren't available in America.
Yes, that's true.
But
Yeah, I need to get.
yeah,
I
I
should have
never
just done that.
use a VPN, but I probably should get one at some point.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't
Yeah.
use it because I know I could set it up really easily, but my mind is just wired up for the convenience of like I should just be able to type this in and get it. I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not going through 10 steps to watch Revenge. I'll just, just give it the third bite. I've just seen they put it on Prime now, so 3 years later, and I can watch it without destroying my life.
All right, that was a good talk there.
It was.
We got
Yes, it was.
a couple more minutes, so this is usually where we end the stream with the questions. So if anyone has any questions to ask, please do it now. You put it there too. Yeah. Yeah. Go.
I think
go.
we've had a good concurrent viewership for say as early as because obviously yours and mine.
I was shocked, honestly. 40 people, 30 to 40 people usually. That was actually pretty. It was more
Most-
than I thought it was gonna be.
Most people who watch us are from the US. Even with me being from England, like there's my audience like analytics it fluctuates, but it's always around like low 50s, mid 50s from the US. So like over half of the people who watch me are from the US. Only like 9.3% are from the UK, and then it's always interesting to see like even the lower percentage. Like you got like 0.001% following in India or something. It's just really cool. Like I sometimes get random messages like, oh,
True.
I live in some country that I've never even heard of in like the Russian steppe or something, and I'm like, oh, well, that's crazy. And then they must be like the only person there who watches stuff like that. I guess some countries, again, even culturally speaking, just they don't gravitate. They don't gravitate towards the sort of stuff we do as much as other places. The US is definitely the big cultural standpoint at the minute for interest in drugs and psychedelics, especially with all the laws and that. But yeah, it's taking off.
Yeah, U.S. takes over, and it's probably mostly because I am, in America. But like, yeah, I get it's crazy seeing all these countries that you see it from. Like, it's like it's so cool to see that people from other places around the world actually watch you, and it's just such an amazing feeling. Yeah, and then it shows you on the Podbean, the place where I upload my Spotify content to. Like yeah, it's very cool because you see like Scotland, fucking Malaysia, just anything. It's big.
So
Yeah. Is there gonna be any questions? I'm from Norway. I love psychedelics. Hell yeah, psychedelics anywhere. That's it.
Oh, I'm going to Norway next year. It looks absolutely beautiful over there. I've always wanted to go to I've been to Iceland, which is a Scandinavian country, but in mainland Europe, Norway, Finland, etc., they just look. Oh, I'm an absolute like nature geek, so that would be whoa.
How close are you to Norway? Like the drive, or do you drive, or you take a plane? Because I know it's very small there, like compared to the United States.
That's the beauty of the UK, and what I do enjoy about it is we are extremely small. And if I wanted to drive up to Scotland right now, I could probably make it there before. Oh, definitely. I'm only like an hour. I'm only like an hour and a half away from literally the border to Scotland. At
That's
Gretna
crazy.
Green. I know it's
That's
mad.
insane.
Wales. If I wanted to drive to Wales now, it would take 3 hours maybe with no traffic, 3.5 hours. And then the epic thing about the UK is that we've got the Channel Tunnel. So if I go all the way down to the bottom of the country, I have to go for a tunnel underground to go into France and then drive all around Europe. So in theory, it would take a few days to drive to Norway, but it can be done. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. But I'll probably get a plane though, to be fair, much easier.
Yeah.
Someone said favorite country or place you've visited. Who wants to go first?
That's a good one. I'd probably say my favourite is I've been to quite a few countries because again the luxury of living in England is there's a lot of countries around you in Europe, so many different cultures. Favourite country is probably Iceland, or I went to Croatia for 2 weeks last year. That was just absolutely beautiful in so many ways, and also went to this part of Croatia. I did like I did two countries in one. So I went to Croatia and we were on the border to Montenegro, and you literally just drive to the border. Border force just giving me passport. So easy to get in. So I experienced two countries in one. So in a sense, that was my favorite holiday because I got two countries in one. But the most extreme country I've ever been to that I was like, whoa, this was like a culture shock, was going to Singapore, which was on the way to
Ooh.
Australia. It was on the way to Australia, and as much as I liked Australia, and it was absolutely fascinating. My family lives over there, so I went to see them. Going to Singapore for those 2 days was more memorable than being in Australia because it was like, whoa, I'm in an Asian country now. I'm not just
Yeah.
in Europe. And Australia's obviously a
True.
different continent, but full of English speakers. Australia, for me, just felt like, oh, this is just the UK, but hotter, more desert, spiders. Everyone drinks just as much as well.
With deadly animals to add on top of it.
It's camp.
True.
What about you, Noah? Where's your favorite place you visited?
Uh, only been out of the country once, and that was to Canada. That was a good ass time. I was
Hmm.
in Ontario and Toronto for about a week. And when I was in Ontario, we stayed out in this cabin and whatnot. Saw some elk, grizzly bears, caught a bunch
Ooh.
of big ass fish.
Oh,
It
nice.
was super beautiful, especially the fact like I didn't have any service on my phone or nothing, so it was
It
really like a disconnect from everything going on,
probably felt
and just like
refreshed.
made me like, yeah, right, and just like get away from all the bullshit of everyday life and technology going on, and it was beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Canada. I've never left the country before, but yeah, Canada is definitely on my list because I know there's beautiful, fucking beautiful wildlife and beautiful scenery. Like I think The Revenant was partially filmed there, if I'm not mistaken, or like all
Yeah,
it
I
was.
think
Yeah,
so.
that was one of the most beautiful
Sick
movies
film.
ever. But
Hmm.
my like I said, I've never been out of the country, but last year when I went to Cape May, the Jersey Shore, that was definitely just I did not know anything about that place. So when I booked the vacation, I was looking what's the best coastal city in New Jersey, and that was number one. So we went there, and yeah, that was just very good seafood, very nice, calm town. And then there's cities all around it that you can go to, boardwalks and stuff. I love going to the beach. Like the beaches are my favorite place to vacation at, and there's
Mm.
just so much over there. And the only thing. The ocean was very scary at the time. Like the wind was blowing like crazy, and there's rip currents you got to be careful about because that's very dangerous, especially in Florida. I was hearing that someone got killed from that down there last year, and yeah, so that was fun. It's only a 7 to 8 hour drive for me too. Um,
That's crazy again for me to imagine driving 7
yeah,
hours.
like I'm so used.
Well,
I when I went to Boston, that was I drove there. My friend, and it took 10 hours. That shit was unbearable on the way back, dude. I just felt
Yep.
like I was gonna die. But on the way there, we stopped at a hotel. So I think that's the right thing to do on the way somewhere that far. You definitely should stop. But on the way back, I just like to get back. So we took the long
yeah.
drive. Oh, well, actually, the longest drive I didn't drive, but I was in the car was to New Orleans. Oh my God, that took
Gee,
fucking
yeah, that's fire.
forever,
How,
man. We
how far was that?
That's a 13-hour drive. It is insanity. I also knew someone, one of my ex-girlfriends, she had a house in Key West, and Florida, already to the bottom of Florida is long enough, but then it's another, like, I don't know how many more miles, but to get to the Keys all the way at the bottom. And from Ohio, I don't know, that's at least 20 hours maybe. So, but you definitely like
Yeah.
you stop, but stopping for 20 hours, you might have to stop again on the way there. But
Unfathomable.
yeah, we drive a lot here. It's I don't mind. I like driving though. It's fun to see
Yeah.
the scenery, especially Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was very long to get through because you have to go through the whole thing to get to New Jersey. But yeah, in Philadelphia, I do not. I it was not nice there when I drove past. Even on a
Nah.
sunny day, it looked very industrial. It was. I would not want
Yeah.
to be there. And
That's
I. Uh,
that's where David Lynch is from, isn't it? Philadelphia, and
oh
his
really?
if you look at his interviews, obviously he's a very cryptic person, but what he does
Yes.
say outright is that Eraserhead and a lot of his films have that weird industrial, nightmarish feel. He said
Yes.
was inspired by him growing up in
Hmm.
Philadelphia. So I can only imagine that. Yeah, it's just Eraserhead live action
That's
in color, I
exactly
guess.
that's exactly what I was thinking of. I was like immediately thought of Eraserhead. Luckily, it was a blue sky, so it wasn't as bad. But I feel like if it was cloudy and rainy, oh my god, it would not have been very, very good to look at. No offense to people who live in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
but like it just, I'm sure it's nice in some areas over there, but there's also
Yeah.
you got to worry about the drug scene over there because it's like one of the worst in the country
So
in Kensington. I know you probably know about it, no one, but it's there's like they're basically zombies walking
this
around.
crime in general.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, a bunch of crime over there, and
Yeah,
it's like a war
you get
zone.
it everywhere, don't you? There's a lot of seriously rough places in the UK, because obviously there's that meme. There's a lot of memes, isn't there, about like I don't know, is it Detroit or whatever in America? There's quite a few places. There's memes about it, like do not go here because it's rough. And we've got them in the UK. Birmingham is
Yeah,
a famous, is an infamous one that people going about. There's districts of London where it's like do not go there. There's other places like Slough where it's like oh very rough. And I feel for anyone who lives there. And to be fair, probably if you live there and you have no like frame of reference, that's just life for you, isn't it? But
hmm
I tell you what, going to Birmingham, coming from where I'm from, is like I can see why Black Sabbath originated from there because it's a dark, dreary place,
yeah.
and still is. You got a question here from, funnily enough, Sonny Atkin, who interestingly I actually met other day in real life, which was
Hmm.
very bizarre. It was awesome. It literally made my day. I was going to that festival in my local area, Highest Point, and he came up to me like, "Yo, are you Vivek?" And I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, I am." So I was having a good conversation with him. Big ups to him. He's asked you, yeah, what's the rave scene like where you guys are from in America, and just if you want to reiterate where you're from again.
Yeah, over in Ohio, I don't see too many people talking about raves, but there are okay, no, there are. I just don't go to them, but yeah, it's definitely not as extreme as the UK and Europe over there. I don't think, but the Molly, MDMA, the Mandy, whatever you want to call it, it's
Mm.
strong. When you do go to raves, it's definitely a lot of people take it here, but yeah,
Mm.
I don't know about you, no one, but
And yeah, in Chicago, it's a lot bigger. I feel like I was going to go to New York a couple weeks ago, but my flight got canceled, so I don't have too much frame of reference for some other cities. But yeah, like I said earlier, the ketamine scene is kind of big over here. It's not like super big. Like it's probably like a third or fourth option, honestly, for most people. But
hmm
you go to the EDM scene and whatnot, like yeah, you can find some K, some M, and whatnot. And of course, people are going to be drinking. So I mean, and there's also the festivals that go on too. I haven't been to too many, but I mean,
Mm.
it'll get lit. So
I know our good friend Low-Key Fish. He goes to a lot of raves and events. I watch him on
yeah,
Instagram, and yes,
oh yeah, he
quite
goes to
really.
so many, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love watching him do all that because it's interesting. Obviously, the music then he goes to listen to, and how obviously the music has a symbiotic relationship with sort of what drugs you use. Again, like I said, MDMA and ketamine is very synonymous with like drum and bass over here, whereas cocaine is synonymous with techno and all these other stuff. And then like stimulants like amphetamines are popular, with, like hardcore sort of like donk, gabba, and he listens to. I think it's. I don't really. I'm not very well versed in sort of the American electronic music scene, but it's obviously sort of like hard style, yeah, like EDM in a general
hmm
sense. It's also very hard, like
hmm
sort of the like the because there's dubstep over here. Dubstep is very very different to the dubstep in America. The Skrillex dubstep, which I think is actually called bro step, where it's more like bangarang sort of stuff, and it's just interesting to see, yeah, how both countries
have you
love.
heard his most recent project,
I
Quest
I
for
actually,
haven't.
Fire?
I love
No.
Skrillex now. I love Skrillex
Because
now.
it's a take on the UK EDM scene. His take
Yes,
on it.
Mm.
I love Skrillex's new tunes. He's veering more into like yeah, dark step dubs the dubstep that we have where it's actually a mixture of dub, which is like sort of like electronic reggae in a sense. It's a very general term, and then
Hmm.
two step that's like proper dubstep, and he's doing that, and he did yeah, Rumble, that song Rumble by Skrillex is awesome, and he's really getting into drum and bass, and drum and bass is taking off like massively. As I say, when we first added each other on Snapchat, no one. I was pleasantly surprised to see that you're into a lot of artists that I'm into that are really big over here, and Subtronics as well, which I swear Subtronics is an
Yeah, I
American
was just about to
music.
bring him up too.
Yeah, which is awesome, and I'm seeing it like Coachella. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously Grimes' set obviously was like catastrophic, but she had a collab with Subfocus. Subfocus is one of the biggest drum and bass artists, and she was combining it. She was collabing with him, and people in Coachella, like fully Americans, are listening to drum and bass, which I never thought would ever happen. So it's cool that it's all merging together. I think it's sick. So no wonder Ketamine, like you say, is sort of taking off. In certain parts of the US because drum and bass is coming into the US. So it's sort of like
Yo, yo.
the UK drug habits are coming over there as well. It's really interesting.
It was
Oh yeah,
all
we're just picking up, right?
Yeah.
it was all it goes back and forth because when back in the 60s, 50s, 70s, that's when classic rock started coming on. They used blues, and that was from America, down south, and they integrated that, and it wasn't very popular in Europe, but over here, like, people were eating it up. But the blues were more interesting over there, so it's kind of like there's always influences to each other. Like, we're both, like, we're not similar, but we bounce off each other really well, I think. And that's why I hate when people just yell at each other like, "Oh, you're from America, you're stupid, you're an idiot," or like you're a slob. And then people when you talk about Europeans, like the teeth thing, it's like, dude, just shut the
Yeah.
fuck up. It's like, seriously, just can we all get along for once?
I know.
It's like, I don't know
Yeah.
Yeah.
why we have to
It's all
fight
right.
over that.
We have I'm in my Discord. All my Discord members know I like to poke fun at people like at the Americans in the crowd. But it's all out of love. It's all funny because I like. I mean, it's a classic thing in Britain. We have very dark humor. We're very like mocking of each other, even just over here. So I like it when they throw that back at me, like, yeah, well, you guys fucking live off beans on toast or shit. Like, I like that. That's funny. But
At least I don't
yeah,
have to wear a bulletproof vest to school.
oh
So
yeah, that's
that
like that's like the brainlet equivalent of us giving American shit. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
not gonna get shot in it, and it's like to be fair, I'd probably rather get shot than stabbed. To be fair, there's fucking knives everywhere in London.
Oh yeah. And in France
Man.
too, I heard France is really bad with that.
Oh,
Like Paris, like
they're
I wouldn't want to go there, but
no, no.
Oh, here it's guns. Chicago, it's Chirac, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
It's
Chicago,
more,
like, yeah, I've heard Chicago is very bad in some areas, but it's also just like one of the best cities ever. It's like, it all depends where you're at, right? Like, I never been
uh,
there, so what would you say? Like, how are
just
the
it depends if
stereotypes?
you're on the north side or the south side of Chicago, really. The north side is where all the rich people are and where all the nice stuff is.
Hmm.
You go more into the south and more of the suburbs type stuff. I mean, that's where you'll start finding, where it gets more rough. Just depends, though.
Yeah, and it's all different. Like,
only
Cleveland has it too. Like, there's East Cleveland. Like, it's dangerous over there. I mean, I drive through there occasionally, which I never have a problem. But like, you just got to worry about getting caught in the crossfire of like gangs or something. That's just very big in Cleveland. I know in Chicago there's a lot of gangs too, in every major city, really.
I think there's I can't wait to go to the US. It's the other country other than Japan that I'm like, right, this is like my two main goals to visit in life. And even just with doing the YouTube, just going over there and being like, whoa, this is where like my whole audience base is pretty much going to the US. And I find it so fascinating the variety over there. But I talked to my mates and a lot of them was like, nah, I don't want to go to the US. I might get in a shit, might get shot, or I might have some fentanyl laced like
We'll
drugs or
just see how
something.
bad it is.
And it's just a lot of it's fear, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, is it the same thing you can say over here? I mean, like, literally, I went to Birmingham to this rave, thinking, I'm literally going to a rave in a city. How bad can it be? And I probably feared the most for my life walking down them alleyways, especially when you go past a literal gang, got balaclavas on. They've all got the chav gear, and I'm like, these guys have knives on them. They know I've got a wallet. There's nothing stopping them from doing something to me. So it's like, there's fear-based stuff over here. There's fear-based stuff over there. You just can't escape it. You just got to sort of knuckle down and be like,
Right.
right.
It's everywhere.
But just hope for the best and don't give in to the fear. And oftentimes things work out. But also don't be careless. Don't be careless and start going down loads of alleyways trying
Oh,
to test yourself and
hell
see how
no.
much happens.
Yeah,
Because then that's when reality kicks you in the ass.
where are you planning on going in America? Do you
I
know?
mean, my mum and dad have been to New York, and they
Okay.
they loved it because it blew their minds. They've never seen anything like that. I'd like to go there, but it's not on my top place to go. The top places for me, I'd say the more, say like Colorado. That
Oh
would be cool
yeah,
to go to.
you'll
And
be safe there for sure. Yeah.
I do part of me, in a sense, because I do love movies. I would like to go to California and see what it's like for real. Even though I know a lot of people. I went out with this girl a few years ago, and she went to California, and she went to like Hollywood, and she said, "Oh, it wasn't the hype that's made out to be." But that sort of excites me in a sense because I want to see what it's really like. And I mean, I love the beaches everywhere and like the coast and that. But I'm saying, yeah, one day in the future, say like, yeah, next 10 years, if I'm over there, we should definitely try and link up.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Do a podcast in real life.
That'd be insane, dude. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah. Obviously, you two both live in the US, so I just need to get over there. So I'm the missing piece of the puzzle. But yeah, definitely in the future, it's just destined to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. If you do end up going to California, I know I haven't been there yet, but I know there's a very bad homeless problem there. They call it Skid Row in Los Angeles, and San Francisco is starting to get really bad. But like if you go to like Beverly Hills or Malibu, that's where the really really expensive nice stuff is at, and then like Venice Beach and stuff. But yeah, like the city of Los Angeles, it can be scary with all the homeless. Not saying they're scary, but just like you're not expecting that. But yeah,
I watched that South Park episode, the Night of the Living Homeless, so I've already got an idea of what it might be like. Yeah, I think to be honest, I'd visit if I could, if I had the money, if I had the ability to do so, I would visit everywhere in the US because all the areas for me are so fascinating. I talked to so many different people on messages, some of them from North Carolina, and that sounds interesting over there.
Yes, yeah.
And Alaska, and Hawaii, it's mad, isn't it?
I would love to go.
Yeah, it is.
I'd love to go to Alaska and Hawaii, but it's so expensive over there. Oh my god, just all the importing and stuff is just like the normal, like what we were saying about ramen. It's so cheap over here, but like in Alaska, it's like $2 for a packet of it or some shit. That's insane.
You gotta hunt your food there, huh?
Yeah, it's usually like 30 cents over here, like in the store, just to get a packet of it. But yeah, it's usually the cheapest thing.
We critique, this is quite ironic as well. We critique us UK people critique American food as being like overindulgent, even though we have a very, very, very shallow palate over here. But I think what you do really get right is like the surf and turf stuff, like the seafood over in America. Like I love like lobster and squid and everything like that. I'd be all over that, me.
Yeah, that in Cape May, in New Jersey, there's definitely some good seafood, and also on the coast of like the Washington and shit, just anything. Also in Maine, there's some good lobster, and then Maryland is known for crabs. I prefer crab over lobster, but a good lobster roll, I'll take, man. I love. That's why I like going on vacation, because the food. Ohio is just normal. It's like you could tell the difference when you're from like you order fish there versus here. Like there's some local fish like a walleye or something, but like not. The lobster is definitely way different. And then in New Orleans, you could just order a big crawfish platter for $10. It's like a mountain of crawfish. And when I had it in Ohio, dude, I had to spit it out. It was disgusting. But when we were eating it, we were eating the shells and shit. We just could not stop. It was so fucking good down there. But yeah, there's some good cooking off the ocean coasts in America.
Yeah, anything off the coast because of that travel time.
Yeah. And in Ohio, I'd say probably, honestly, the best food we do is probably a burger. A burger, you can get a really good burger over here. But yeah, seafood is still okay, but not compared to the coastal cities. Yeah, it's no comparison.
Yeah, would like to try a proper American burger, and we try to replicate it over here. But
burger
I don't
and
think
pizza.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be done.
All right.
Have you ever had an English breakfast?
I eat crumpets a lot now. I find those to be really, really good. I fucking love them. They're so fucking good.
That's probably our most famous delicacy. It's called the fry up. That's where they put the beans on it. We've got beans, hash brown, tomato, bacon, sausage, toast, whatever. That's like our staple, and it is serious. It's really good. But when that's like the pinnacle of British food, it's hilarious. Then you've got fish and chips, which obviously if you're English, it's like, oh, I love fish and chips, mate. And I'm like, well, this is just fucking boring for me. It's like just a battered fish and some fries. I was like, and this is the peak of our cuisine. You go to like Italy and Japan and stuff, and they got like fucking mad shit.
Italy sounds so good. Oh, Italy.
Yeah, I went to Rome. They had good food.
Italian food in
Right.
Ohio is actually good too, but in Boston and New Jersey, it's definitely like New York. That's where you got to get the best Italian food. In Boston, it was definitely the best. It was so fucking good, their Italian food,
Mm.
because they're mostly Italian. They're from coming over from the boat and stuff, so they're very
Oh yeah.
cultured like that. But a lot of
I'm
Italians
a
hate
little-
Italian Americans. It's crazy.
Over here. Oh, class.
All right, if anyone doesn't have anything else to say, is there any closing remarks you guys want to give, or
I think this has been the best episode yet. We just
Yeah.
keep one upping ourselves.
Uh,
Yeah, it's been good to have you on as well. You have to, I mean, come on whenever you're free. Someone that's no one.
I mean, when I can, like I told Tails, I'm normally working this day, so it might be a rarity for me to come on if it's always on the Sunday. But I
Yeah.
mean, whenever I'm
Well,
open, I'm down,
yeah.
guys.
Whenever you're free, obviously we're all in contact anyway. So yeah, and
hmm
Trip Whip said he would be on next week. He messaged the group. He said that he thought it was next Sunday, so that's why he did
Yeah.
show up today. So we'll try to get him on next week if that. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
But because I
stars have aligned.
yeah, Memorial Day is next Monday, so I wouldn't mind waking up early again for it. I know it doesn't matter for you, but yeah, just being tired from the post office, it's hard to. I like to at least get a little bit relaxed in the morning before I start this, but today wasn't too bad. So
Yeah, like I say, I'm in a lucky position. I can do pretty much any time. So I'm available whenever on a Sunday. So yeah, I can work around you.
yeah. All right, so I guess we'll be back next week if everything goes right. If not, we'll try the next Sunday, and yeah. So
For the next exciting episode.
next exciting episode of the Trip Sitters podcast.